Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Vash Sky ParkCast. My name is Vash Sky, and I'm your host of today's illustrious ceremonies. Man, it is a day full of news and activity, that is for sure. Listen, I don't know if you guys actually caught the thumbnail and the title for this live stream right here. It was going to be a completely different thing. Some things happened today, and it just took everything that I had planned and just said poof. And everything changed right on a dime right there. So I've been doing everything that I can to keep up with all of the latest happenings, all the latest news, to provide you all the information that you need when covering these theme parks right here. It is fascinating what is actually going on, and well, some things might have been predicted, other things I could not have ever imagined. But let's go ahead and get on somebody who is a dear friend of this channel right here. I love his commentary. I love having him on, and I know you love him as well. It is the one, the only, Jared from Capture the Magic. Hello there, Jared. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Woke up to all this news today. I didn't anticipate. We recorded on our podcast like a news episode yesterday, and we released it, and I'll wake up and, like you were saying, like half of it's not even relevant anymore. It was like, oh, I guess we're rehauling all these attractions now. So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. We're just gonna overhaul everything that has made Walt Disney World great. No, joking. But we're gonna go ahead and update these things. We're gonna do some modifications. It's like, okay, and then we have a whole theme park that actually got its opening date announced right there with some information surrounding that whole thing. So that's gonna be pretty cool right there. That's gonna be awesome to go over. And hey, there are still some topics that I do want to cover with this specific audience right here, like what's going on over there at Islands of Adventure, with that, a fan favorite attraction, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, that has its express benefit removed from that, and Dark Universe's permit and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into all that and much more. I know that the Real Ventures actually has an inquiry about that, but before we get to his super chat, let's go ahead and bring up Just Dutchy with the €6, I do believe, right there. Good evening, Vash, panel, Skyliners, Skywatchers. Like, share, and subscribe, my friends. Have a great one. I will catch it on the rewatch. Well, thank you so much, Josh Suchi. Thank you for coming in right here and supporting this channel, and getting in early right there. That is pretty good. I think around that time I still had the old thumbnail. So if you were intending to get a flavor of the show beforehand, well, I think again, it has taken a little bit of a different turn, but we'll go ahead and feature your favorite stories in just a moment. Juliet, right here, coming on in with the £5 sterling. Evening, Vash Sky ParkCast and Skyliners. Evening, Juliet. Thank you so much for coming on in. You are the moderator extraordinaire, and thank you so much for everything that you do. The Real Ventures, though, coming in here as well with the $5. Did you hear that Epic Universe tickets for AP dropped in price? What do you think that this means? I did actually see the new pricing for tickets. It's kind of long range, but they are kind of going down in price right there, and that might actually influence Universal's decision to, I don't know, build up a little bit more of demand for that via their permits, their new attractions, their new experiences, and so forth. We'll get into all that in just 1 second right there. But Real Ventures, thank you so much for the $5. Trust me, we will answer your queries thusly. Jared, I'm a little bit bad at this when it comes to like these big kind of anniversaries and everything like that. Usually, the show takes place early, and so people will be like, "Hey, did you know this happened 60 years ago, 50 years ago, or whatever?" And it's like, dang it, that would have been cool to honor. But in this case, we did catch it right there. Another fan favorite of the 1964-65 World's Fair, Small World, was brought over from the fair and opened at Disneyland, I believe in, 66 right there, the year Walt passed away 60 years ago today. So it's pretty cool right there. Love to see that. Jared, you a fan, or you one of those people who goes, I can't stand that music right there, so not a fan?
My whole stance has been Disneyland's is the original, and I think that should stay. I think that is a piece of Walt Disney history. The one in Disney World, since it's like a duplicate, I don't have as much reverence for. But I appreciate the history of it. But I will say, my whole contingent has been, if you ever wanted to get information out of somebody, like if you're, like you're watching 24 back in the day, and like, where's the bomb? You just stick them on It's a Small World like 10 times through, and they'll just tell you everything. They'll just tell you everything. They're like, just stop it, make it stop. So I appreciate it. It's definitely a ride of its time. But I don't know. Disneyland's, don't touch it. Disney World's, there's a conversation to be had if there's something better that could go in there. I've often said Tangled going in that ride building would be kind of cool, but I wouldn't be upset if it didn't go away. But I don't ride it every time. But that's just my take.
Hey, I can respect that opinion right there. I try to ride this as often as I can in like the course of vacation right there, because I actually do have some admiration for this attraction. Obviously, like more than once a day is a little bit much, but maybe like once a day, try to at least. And especially at Christmas time, oh, it is fantastic. Yeah. I know you guys don't have it at Walt Disney World, but Disneyland, it is spectacular.
Disneyland's is much better. Like, it's outdoors. It's a much better thing than the one, at least in my opinion, in Disney World. But like our kids still like it from time to time. When they want to go on it, we'll do it. But it's not, it gets you out of the heat at least. I mean, when it's a hot day, you just kind of go in there and just mosey around the boat ride.
Oh, absolutely. Gets you out of the heat for sure, which is really, really cool. I know I have some memories of like summer vacations and so forth where, you can actually, if you get enough people together, you can actually stop the boat. And so what my friends would do back in the day is like we would like, it'd be like, coasting out of the show building, right? And we would just kind of hold it there for just a little bit. And just like, and then obviously another boat comes behind you and there's nothing you can do. But no, I don't recommend that, folks. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the boat at all times. But I'm just telling you,
don't do it fast. He was young. I mean, we've all had I don't know if you know that. When I look back and sometimes my youth, I'm just like, I was really dumb.
Yeah. This is one of those, what Jared just described. This is really dumb kind of moments right there. Not recommended, but would do that because it is very nice and cool in here, which is really, really cool. Obviously, great art direction, great style. Mary Blair, Raleigh Crump, Mark Davis, all of that right in here in this little corner of Disneyland. Obviously, corner in Magic Kingdom as well. Very, very cool. Just want to go ahead and share a little bit of positivity before. Jared, we got to go a little bit negative here with this next one. I think maybe you have a different opinion. I'll go ahead and I'm all ears to actually hear it. But here you go. It was back in August of 2025 at the D23 Destination D23 event when they announced that Walt Disney would be joining the Carousel of Progress. And at that time, it was like, ooh, I don't know if we want Walt Disney there. Mainly based off of his implementation at Disneyland at that time, right? I mean, it just quite doesn't look like Walt to me. It gets a little bit better in person, but still, it's like, this is either Walt or the My Pillow guy. Not quite sure.
It looks a lot like the My Pillow guy from the pictures I've seen. And to be fair, I haven't seen it in person, but the people that have seen it in person, they do say it looks better. But my whole contingent was like, if you're gonna have a Walt animatronic, it needs to like literally look like Walt. Like, it needs to just knock it out of the park. The best animatronic you've ever done. I don't know if it fits that. Maybe Disney World would be a little bit better version, but I think that might be a little bit of a hot topic with this refurb on top of other things they may do on that Walt animatronic and what it looks like.
Right. Now, hopefully when they do, maybe this is Walt 2.0. Maybe they actually improve on what they actually did back in the Tom Fitzgerald version of the attraction that plays at Disneyland's Main Street Opera House. Hopefully, it gets better. But when that actually occurred, there was this little blurb right there in Disney Parks blog that maybe foretold the future of this attraction. It says right here, there are still plenty of additional details to be revealed, including what John, Sarah, and the rest of the family are up to. Disney Imagineers love this attraction, and the heart of it will stay the same while introducing the Carousel of Progress to an entirely new generation of fans, showing them that a great, big, beautiful tomorrow is just a dream away. And I said at the time, when you hear introduce and to a new generation from Disney, you already know it's going to be a watered-down, safe-inspired slop, R.I.P. Carousel of Progress. The reason why I was saying that is because, well, look, I mean, if you compared, if you saw the litany of attractions around this time, specifically like Country Bear Jamboree, for example, like, that attraction is fine. It's okay. But a month later, nobody's talking about it. And you barely see any reference to it on social media. Now, I'm not saying that, there's that Overton window there is completely synced with the people who actually go there on a regular basis and the people who actually post about it on social media. But it was interesting to see the demand, or I should say enthusiasm, kind of drop off from that social media aspect. And I think it's because it's just, it's a little bit generic and it's a little bit safe and doesn't have that necessarily the edge and that comedy that kept it relevant for so long. That's just my opinion, though. Okay. Then, Jared, switch to, what is it? May 27, 2026? WW Magic comes out with this post. Now, I think we were going to feature this on our various shows yesterday. We just didn't get to it.
We ran out of time. We were going to talk about the very end, and I was like, I didn't realize the next day they'd be announcing this. But yeah, this was something we were going to try and hit. But there's been so much stuff lately. It's like you got to pick and choose your topics a little bit.
Right, you have to. So it was kind of like, okay, well, there's a little blip right here from WW Magic. Carousel Progress may be getting far more than a Walt Disney animatronics figure. Sources say the refresh could amount to a near complete overhaul with entirely new scenes on a new timeline replacing the bulk of the show. They had an accompanying article and so forth, and I was going to go over that today. But this morning here, real early, I think it was like 8 a.m. this morning Eastern, which is like 5 my time. Disney dropped a big one. Walt Disney's Carousel Progress is headed towards a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. You'll get to see John, Sarah, and the whole family experience new decades when the attraction is updated at Disney World in 2027. And apparently, according to Boardwalk Times, one of the Walt Disney Imagineering's main goals for this Carousel Progress update was to keep the attraction relatable for modern audiences by featuring areas in which guests have personal connections. So right at the bat right there,
when you hear modern audiences, you immediately are like, oh no. Like I don't know if Disney is aware of the connotation that goes with that phrase like out there nowadays, but anytime you hear that like in video games or movies, you're just like, I was really excited. I don't know. Like at the very least, you're very hesitant at this point to just like commit to being like super enthused about it, at least in my opinion.
Right, exactly. And it's like when I hear that, it's like, what does that mean? And it means a couple of things. Maybe not everything that has been traditionally associated with that connotation. But still, though, we'll explore what modern audiences means in just a second. So they released this piece of concept art right here of the fourth scene, what that's actually going to look like. And to be honest, that's what a lot of people cared about when it came to updating this attraction, right? In years past, obviously. And apparently this piece of concept artwork is very much based on a John Hench rendering that he did back in the day. And you can see the family right there. And it's like, oh, well, that doesn't necessarily look super futuristic at all, but obviously context matters, and they did provide context of all about this scene and more in their Disney Parks blog post. I'm going to go ahead and put some B-roll on right now, so you don't have to see just walls of text as we actually go through this, but we'll go ahead and break down every single scene that they have on the horizon for this, provided by Chris Beatty here at the Disney Parks blog and with Walt Disney Imagineering. Here we go. New decades coming to Carousel of Progress. In addition to adding Walt Disney to the very attraction that bears his name, Imagineers will also be updating all the scenes to new time periods, where we'll get to see what John, Sarah, and the rest of the family are up to as they navigate the ever-changing technology of the new decades. One of our main goals for this update was to keep the attraction relatable for today's audiences by featuring eras in which our guests have personal connections to. That includes the iconic quote, "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow," which will continue to play as guests transition between scenes. Okay, that's good. Don't do a new song there. They learned that the hard way in the 1970s. So, okay, good. The Imagineers working on this refresh grew up during these decades. So it's been a real trip down memory lane to revisit the music, fashion, technology, and experiences that helped shape our history, all reflected in this family's story. One thing I think that makes the Carousel Progress so special is that physical props, painted backdrops, and practical effects everywhere, and the team is working tirelessly to make sure things like appliances and artwork are true to the decade. Okay, so far, we're all right.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Act 1. And Jared, I'll go through these acts separately right there. I want to hear your thoughts and so forth behind each one of them. When the show first opened at the World's Fair, its story began by looking back 60 years to the dawn of the new century. Now, more than 6 decades later, this new iteration mirrors that idea starting 60 years back from today in the 1960s. In the summer of 69, our Carousel family, along with millions around the world, gather around the television to witness one of humanity's greatest achievements, the historic moon landing. Filled with awe, the moment captures the spirit of innovation, and possibly that has always been and always will be at the heart of the Carousel of Progress. Okay, so I have heard, because I saw a couple videos on this from people who actually received this this breakdown from Imagineers personally. Apparently, the scenes at night, obviously to go along with the moon landing event itself, which took place, July 20th, 1969. Okay. Now, apparently it starts with John retelling his events. Like, it starts with John there sitting, and apparently he is going on about, like, what they actually saw at the 1964-65 World's Fair. Now, a little strange, because that was, 4 years earlier. But still, they're just going on like, oh, hey, so much progress. It's awesome. It's amazing. They're talking about the innovations that they saw and how they would maybe soon be making their way into the modern home. Apparently, there are appliances of the vintage that actually come to life and so forth, but the family has been staying up late, obviously, to see this broadcast of the moon landing. Now, my feelings about this, Jared, are a little bit mixed. I want to go ahead and hear from you first, though. What do you think about all this?
All this, my whole thing on this is you take in modern Imagineering, and I'm somewhat encouraged by the newer refurbs. I think a lot of these are better than I was anticipating them being. So I suppose it's like, well, okay, the recent stuff's a bit better. You go into this ride, though, it's like, it's got so much history to it. And like this opening scene, that's like, I can understand wanting to do the moon, but although they do cover that in Spaceship Earth, so you're kind of doubling up there a little bit. Not a big deal. I think it might have been better off, like you were saying, it's only 4 years earlier. Do the World's Fair, kick it off from that point into the next part. But I mean, they're probably not going to cover, if John thinks that the moon landing was real or not. But I mean, that would be funny if they did. It's like, they didn't really do that. They can't get through the radiation belt. And it's like, oh, Grandpa's base. But I don't know. It's
Timmy, I can't wait until all those actors get on those set pieces to show us the moon landing. Yeah, that's going to be fantastic.
I heard that they filmed it in a back lot somewhere. Yeah, just stuff like that would be kind of funny. But I mean, the intro scene, I was like, okay, like a lot of this is going to be like the execution. Like, how do they really do it? This one, I wasn't like right away like, that's a bad idea. It's really going to depend on the context of how they do a lot of these scenes, I think. But what do you think about it?
Okay, so I like the idea of doing the moon landing. I think it's pretty cool. I also like the idea, though, of actually doing the 64 World's Fair, which is why we're getting both, I suppose. Because it's like, okay, it's like this really cool like nugget. If you actually know the history of this attraction, that kind of comes all back around right there. I will say, in my optimum version of this attraction, I probably would have actually ended with the moon landing, because that would have been kind of cool when you have, like, the first scene actually goes over the first flight, right? And the last scene, it's like, hey, we went to space and landed on the freaking moon, in this ride, we experienced a time when flight wasn't possible to the point where now we're landing on the moon. That would have been, I think, pretty cool right there. However, you do bring up a fantastic point, which was actually kind of what I was thinking as well. This scene is already depicted in an existing audio animatronics attraction. Mm-hmm. It's just not in this park. It's in Epcot. It's in Spaceship Earth. And it's like, okay, are we just retreading the same ground right here? We see this again in this attraction, in this update, which is really unfortunate. But it's kind of like, that's kind of weird to do something again. And we'll go through the different areas and so forth, but starting from this point on, it's kind of like, okay, when you look at human history that was actually depicted in the original Carousel Progress compared to the 60 years from this, or what is it? They go all the way. I mean, it's the last scene, to spoil it, is a future unknown. Like it's way out in the future. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the 30 years or so within the first three scenes, right, when compared to the last, three scenes, the human achievement right there, I think, is a lot greater, right?
Yeah.
It's not really progressivism, it's incrementalism is what I've heard it described as. And so it's kind of like, to start there, I don't know if the achievements later on are as significant necessarily, but that's just kind of me. Any more thoughts from you, Jen?
Yeah, I think taking the approach, that's a good point though. Like taking the approach of the ingenuity of that, I think that would have been really cool to see. Cause yeah, you're starting like the whole scene about like they're talking about flying airplanes, and then all of a sudden you're going to the moon. Like that would be a really cool way to handle that. I didn't actually think about that angle, but actually a good point. And I completely agree. I think starting with the World's Fair would be because especially what this ride is based off of, I think that would be a good starting point for this to do it. So yeah, the repeat stuff, it's like, I mean, I know the moon landing is a huge deal, but yeah, you already got it in Spaceship Earth, you're covering it here. It just seems redundant on some level, but
Yes.
yeah, I would have liked to seen that span of like how they're reacting to first flights and then passenger flights and then we went to the moon. Like, that whole thing of that time span would have been really interesting to cover in this.
I think so, and my ideal would have been, okay, look, the future is always a moving goalpost. Why not just have a retro future as your last scene right there? And then you wouldn't necessarily have to constantly upgrade this every 10, 15 years or whatever. It's just this time capsule, and I'll go over that time capsule theory in a little bit more after we go through the various acts. So Act 2 right there, we skip 15 years later on, and it's the mid-1980s where everything is bigger and better and things keep on getting bigger. Okay, we pick up with the family on Halloween night in 1985, and for the first time ever, Sarah is taking the center stage. I see. So, John is out, Sarah's in, and apparently, from what I have heard about her depiction here, she'll have, the big hair from the 80s, big shoulder pads, and all of that. It'll be very, very 1980s aesthetic. She'll share how all these new appliances and gadgets are making life easier for the whole family. Speaking of John, we'll find him out on the porch handing out candy to trick-or-treaters, obviously because it's Halloween night, and poor Uncle Orville can be found in the bathroom with no privacy around here. They'll maintain that line, which is good, I suppose. Yeah. But apparently, so the daughter will be depicted as well, and her room will be depicted, and like they'll have like posters everywhere and so forth, and like really, really playing up the 1980s. I'm guessing the appliances might be around fashion because of that, right? Like, like curling irons and, maybe like
crimping your hair and stuff.
Crimping your hair, yeah, stuff that's of that vintage. But we'll actually see what that's all about. It's gonna be. They're saying there's gonna be a lot of pop culture references, a lot of Disney references, which is very, very interesting. So a little bit self-referential right there. Orville will do the line like we said, but he'll be saying that he invested all of his life savings into Apple, I guess, and the joke is, it'll never work out, before actually he hits the clapper in order to turn off the lights right there. So that's kind of what they're going for right there. And again, it's kind of like, okay, you did the Apple thing again in Spaceship Earth. Like, we're doing it here again. Whatever. Jared, what do you think about this scene right here? Because I'm not sure if there's that much progress here, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think it depends on like how they're gonna define progress on this. Like in my mind, it's ingenuity, it's technology, it's how, like, that's the thing about Carousel Progress. Like you see how day-to-day life is just different with all these leaps in technology. If it's just around fashion and the fact of like pop music and things like that, like it's culturally relevant. I just don't think that's at the heart of what this experience, I guess you call it a ride, whatever this show is trying to showcase, I suppose. Because I'm trying to think, like in the 80s, I mean, I guess at that point from the 69 to the 80s, you would have had I'm trying to think of the big leaps you would have had at that point. I mean, probably a lot of it was fashion. A lot of it, like, I just don't know the ingenuity, like the technology itself, like video games maybe popping up, things like that. Like, there's some things you could hit, but I don't know. It seems like from what you were saying there, it's like a lot of this is going to be pop culture, which I don't know. That doesn't really fit this. That didn't really hit that mark before in this ride, but maybe they kind of use both. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure they're going to have huge hair.
I
Undoubtedly.
certainly didn't have huge hair, and it's like, okay, when I think about, like I said, the last iterations of this attraction, it's like, okay, we saw, like, electricity,
Right.
being introduced, running water in homes, that was a big deal when you're living out on the ranch and so forth, and it's like, that, to me, it's pretty good progress. Air conditioning as well, reference
Right.
there. It's like, those are some pretty big innovations. I'm not sure why we're stepping off in the 1980s necessarily, but have no fear. We go 15 years in the future again. This time, it is the dawn of the new century, and of course, Y2K. So that's where we're at right now. With the 1990s drawing to a close, our Carousel family is preparing to ring in the new millennium on New Year's Eve, 1999. Amid the excitement of the countdown to 2000, new thing called the Internet is bringing John, Sarah, Jimmy, and Patty and the world closer together than ever before. And if you're anything like my family, not everyone is making it to midnight. Grandpa has already knobbed off before the big countdown, and Grandma sneaks the TV over to wrestling when no one is looking. Now, okay, apparently Grandpa's out of it. New Year's coming down. Grandma sneaks a peek at wrestling. And by the way, guess who she's watching in the 1990s there? Well, it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, of course. Apparently,
I heard
from the
that.
reports we've seen.
Personally, I think maybe NWO would have been the thing Grandma was into at that point. You got Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, like that. I think that might be a little cooler, but
Oh, gee, where you at? Where you at in the chat? Yeah, no, it's like, okay, all right, that's interesting. John hosts this time, done on the internet. 90s era laptop, by the way, in front of him right there, just to signify kind of where we're at. Apparently, Imagineers are, looking at sources like eBay, their own attics and so forth, anywhere they can actually source this material from the 1990s. Apparently, there's going to be lots of appliances on display that are 90s era, so popcorn makers, bread makers, blenders, that kind of thing. And apparently, there's going to be a lot of Disney memorabilia and maybe even stuff like pins and so forth in one of these scenes right here. Like, it's going to be a reference-heavy little session right here. Okay, Dawn of the Internet, obviously, I get that.
Right.
Okay, you got to include that, and I think that certainly makes the list. I don't know if 1980s does, but Internet does, I think.
Yeah, I think it would have been better to go the 69 to jump to the 90s, because I think the only reason you would include the 80s is pop culture. I mean, I can't think, there may have been stuff. I just can't think off the top of my head anything that was like a huge breakthrough in the 80s, other than just entertainment stuff, maybe.
Yeah. Back to the Future, but, can't do that because it's Disney.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But, no, I mean, I don't quite agree with that 80s scene right there. Dawn on the Internet's great, but again, though, it's starting to sound like, a little bit of a attraction based on communication. So it's kind of like,
It's also those references to, like, Disney itself in the ride. Like, that's not something that was really there before that I recall. And so, like, having that change where you've got more like the Disney pins and the Disney memorabilia, like I mean, if it's in the background and it's just a little Easter egg, okay. But if it's like a really focused thing, then it's going to come across as almost like a self-promotional thing. And kind of, again, it's like, do they understand the spirit of what this ride really is? And I think that really comes down to this entire refurb. Like, do they understand the importance of it? What it was actually supposed to showcase, or is this just going to be a vehicle to, kind of just do kind of what we've seen with modern Imagineering a little bit, I think there. But I would like to see, Y2K, little like grandma's a little bit freaked out about the computers taking over. Like, it'd be kind of funny if they did have something in there. Because I remember that time, I remember the New Year's Eve night, and nobody knew what was going to happen. Because you had the whole like 2 years of like, oh, everything's going to go dark and all this stuff like that. So I remember it was quite a thing then.
Yeah, the dawn of a new century, I think, works. Y2K, obviously, I think that works. Dawn of the Internet, like all of that stuff, That's pretty decent right there. Definitely would include that, but then that creates questions about what that third scene might be. I mean, if you're doing this, maybe the dawn of AI, you can do something like that,
Yeah.
which might be a little bit interesting, might be controversial. I don't know, but
I hope they have
you could do
AOL
something like that.
Messenger as part of the 90s. That was a big thing. Was your
Right.
AOL Messenger username?
I can't imagine. I can imagine John going, "Hey, they've got this newfangled thing on the computer right there called the internet, and well, now you can go ahead and use this dial-up service right here, beep, beep, and talk to your friends off this messenger." Yeah, we can only imagine what that's actually going to be like right there. But we have to move along to the possible future. Now, this one we don't know much of, but here's Chris Beatty's interpretation of it. As we reach the end of our show, we see the family one last time in the distant future in an out-of-this-world home. From a helpful robot assisting with everyday tasks to space travel, the scene imagines a future where extraordinary innovation has become part of life and proves that a beautiful tomorrow is just a dream away. To help bring this new finale to life, Imagineers looked back at original concept sketches by Disney legend John Hench, drawing inspiration from his imagination or his imaginative new future. Okay, so this one right here is interesting. We saw that piece of concept art earlier on, which it's going to come up pretty soon in this roll, I do believe. I think so. When it does, I'll go ahead and pause it. The thing to take away from this scene is, even though it looks sort of benign when you actually get your eyes on that concept artwork, because it's kind of like, okay, well, it's just like mid-century modern. What's all that about? You are supposed to be on a different planet at this point.
Yeah, this is the scene. I don't like. I understand it's a science fiction thing of like, we have to abandon Earth to go to another planet because Earth is being destroyed or whatever it is. It depends on how they handle this. If this whole thing is because, like, Earth, we destroyed the Earth and mankind was terrible, we had to escape to another thing. Like, it doesn't seem to me that's a really optimistic vision of the future. Now, if it's a whole thing like we've conquered space travel, we're able to colonize the moon or whatever it is, like, that could be a cool thing. I think it depends on how they handle that.
I
But
think
on
that's what
its
they're going
face,
with.
was like, another planet. Like, is it like first off, how far into the future is this going to be? And then what's the whole, like, do they get into why they left? You know what I mean? Like that can get real interesting there.
Well, what's weird about this version of the attraction, or sorry, this scene, I should say. Let me see if I can actually get to that artwork to kind of show you what I'm talking about right here, because I think it's really, really fascinating when you see this in isolation. Because you look at it and you go, it doesn't look super futuristic to me. Here you go. That's it. So when you look at this, it's like we're apparently an interstellar species, and yet I don't see much change here.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you get the robot, and a lot of people are looking at that robot, by the way, and they're saying, okay, is that a Fantastic Four reference right there?
It kind of has a Fantastic Four vibe to this whole scene, really.
Right. And so it's like, okay, I'm not really seeing super futuristic here. Okay, they got the little robot making a cake or whatever, but it's like, that's like 10 years away, right? Like, maybe. I'm not sure about this one. Some people are speculating that the grandparents, which you can see it right here, may actually walk into the scene this time. So that might be very interesting. You see like the lower half of them actually covered, which might be very interesting for the Carousel progress to actually have. But it's like gal's playing acoustic guitar. That's been around.
Yeah, it's kind of for
centuries.
Like, if this is like 400 years in the future, people are still just sitting around playing guitar. Maybe they will be. I don't. And the thing that gets me too, it's like, it looks. I mean, I would like to know what planet they say they're on, because they're looking out on like a mountain range. Maybe this is like, I don't know if you saw Project Hail Mary, where you got to get that room where you can go view stuff from Earth that's supposed to seem like life. Like, maybe that's the aspect they're going. But even John himself kind of looks a lot like Mr. Fantastic. Like his whole his whole outfit.
Yeah, his outfit really does look like Mr. Fantastic. And you have Herbie back there, and it's like, oh, this is like the Fantastic Four, which, again, another Disney reference, I suppose. But it's kind of like, I don't really know what to make of this specific scene right here, because if we go through the the chronology there. Well, this is so wildly different from anything we actually seen, which I suppose is the point, right? I suppose is like, okay, let's go with this very stylistic future, with the hope that it won't age, as badly as some of the other interpretations of the future that we've had in this specific attraction. But it's kind of like, okay, well, if you're just gonna do this, then maybe just do the retro future and keep this thing the way it is. Like, I don't know.
That's kind of been my opinion on Tomorrowland anyways, is like technology moves way too quickly to really do an actual Tomorrowland. I've always felt you choose like kind of like what they did with Fantastic Four, like a stylized vision of like the 60s, or like the Incredibles did that with the 50s, or I think it was 50s and 60s. Like pick the 80s of like this stylized vision of what you thought the future was going to be in the 80s, and that does prevent this from aging badly within like 5 or 10 years, and you got to go back and redo this stuff. I think, especially when you're trying to guess the future, I mean, by the time we are interplanetary, like who even knows? Like you're probably going to talk about like brain implants, and half people are like half robots and half people. Like you could get really, really weird with this, or you could go kind of just mundane. But it's kind of weird to do that with like this whole scene is taking place on some other planet. That's a lot to take on to really try and make that work, and I'm very curious how they kind of plan on doing that.
I'm super curious to see how they plan on doing anything right here, and that's the thing. If you were going to do like another planet, I mean, people are like, okay, well, there's dialogue and stuff like that. It's okay. Well, I mean, I was always told that Walt Disney World plays to an international audience, and so things might be, the more obvious something is, maybe the more better, the better people actually intake that information, whether you're international or not. But okay, whatever. That's what we're doing. To me, it just doesn't scream we're on a different planet. And I think there were opportunities you could have had with this. People are liking this to Horizons in this way, and it's like, well, Horizons was very different if you saw any of the set pieces and everything like that. So we still have to get more information on this. I really don't know. But my issue with all of this is like, you really did not have to update this ride to this extent. And everybody's gonna, say like, oh well, it's Disney's not a museum or whatever. And it's like, okay, yes, that is very true. It's not a museum. It always has to be moving forward. There's no question about that. But there are things of different time periods that live. Whole attractions that are basically museum pieces that live on. For example, like the Mark Twain, for instance. In that way, Disney, Walt himself cashed out his life insurance policy to get a Mississippi Steam Wheeler, and I think it was like the first one produced in over 80 years or whatever. That's a long time ago. Sailing ship Columbia, the first vessel carrying the American flag to circumnavigate the globe, featured at Disneyland, okay, with its below decks and everything like that. Those were two separate attractions, by the way, back in the day, which is crazy. But that right there is a museum piece. Here, okay, it's Carousel of Progress. And people say, well, it's got progress in the name. And it's like, I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because progress was represented in this attraction. Going over the turn of the 19th to 20th centuries to the 1960s, or maybe even beyond, as it was later updated, okay? It was already there. And it was already detailing a point in human history that Walt certainly wanted to see represented in some way. We know this because of Edison Square and those plans that eventually culminated into the Carousel of Progress later on. And when you look at Edison Square, and it was going to be all based around, like Illinois, Chicago, Thomas Edison, Tesla, all of that. He invents the, commercially viable light bulb in, 1879? Is that right? Okay.
Somewhere yeah.
Again, let me just look at my notes right here for this, because I did the math earlier. Where's my stuff on this? Okay. Yes, okay. So 1879, that was 76 years, before the Imagineers were first starting to tinker around with the thought of Edison Square. Okay, I bring that up because a lot of people are saying, well, hey, you know what? This isn't relevant to anybody. You know, these errors that are depicted in this original version of the attraction. Nobody alive today has gone through all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter in the 1950s when they were thinking about Edison Square, which was the predecessor to this attraction. It didn't matter to Walt when he was actually doing it right there. It wasn't about relevance. It was about depicting these great moments in the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only attraction at Walt Disney World currently in existence right now that Walt himself had a hand in. Everything else is derivative of his previous attractions and so forth, but this was the one that was transported from the fair to Disneyland to Walt Disney World. I mean, if anything should be a historical timepiece, this should be. Do we update the Mona Lisa for relevancy? Do we update Main Street for relevancy? Right? We don't do that. There are some things that it's okay to keep them the way they are, and Disneyland has benefited from this for years. Like, for example, Enchanted Tiki Room, right? They have redone that attraction over and over and over again, upgrading lighting, upgrading sound, upgrading, the animatronics themselves, all of that, and it still plays. So I don't really see the argument here. Jared, I've gone on in a big rant. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, you're good. I mean, you have really good points. I mean, I think people like to take that quote from Walt that like the parks aren't a museum and use that to justify kind of like everything that's sort of proposed. And I understand it as well as like, things are going to change in the parks, but there is some stuff that, especially the stuff Walt had his hand on, that it's not like you can go find another one of those. I'm not against updating it. And I was in there a couple weeks ago, like the carpets they need to be replaced. The seating, like there's a lot of things in there that need to be refreshed. It kind of smells like a musty basement in there when you go in there right now. And so I think it's still important, like, okay, the whole relevancy thing, but it's like, I think it's also important, like the way that Disney at least used to operate, especially like Epcot, is education. Like my kids go through there and they start asking questions about like, oh, they didn't have running water. I'm like, yeah, this is how you get to what it is like today. And it's kind of interesting to see kids sort of process that through a medium like this. And so like, I see that perspective and I can understand like, would Walt want to update this? Probably. But you don't have Walt Disney around anymore. And I think when you're talking about going in here and messing with something that Walt had a direct hand in, that's high stakes. You got to really nail this. And from what they're showing here, and I agree with you, it's like you're not really showing the ingenuity as much of like how much day-to-day life changed. And maybe they will from what they're showing here, and like that futuristic scene. I mean, first off, that robot looks like from the Jetsons. And I think already we're seeing like Tesla bots that almost look like people. So if we're talking hundreds of years in the future, these are probably going to be human androids, if we're being quite honest, that you would have operating, doing things for you. So it's like, I would like to see them show like what they envision, what this future would be like day to day. Like how has technology impacted the day-to-day life, living off planet in the future, stuff like that. Like, I hope that's the route they go with it. And not just sort of, I guess my question on this would just be, what is the overall theme of this? Is it the same theme, or are they kind of going more the referential pop culture stuff? I think that's a question there. Right. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at wanting to get more people on this, I think you could do a refurb of this, refresh it, or even, I think being ingenuitive and it's like, okay, let's extend this on some, I don't know how you could do it, like take it further, but don't touch the stuff that Walt had a hand in. But I don't think they want to go that route. I don't know how much money they're looking to spend on this, but I agree with you. Like a lot of times, like the whole quote from Walt kind of gets used to kind of justify some of these changes that I think if you had Walt, and this is always a thing, what would Walt do? I don't know. I think a lot of the things he'd be like, why are you messing with that? Leave that alone, or mess with this over here. Like, to me, there's a lot of things you could fix up in this park. I don't know, like Stitch's old ride that's still sitting there empty for a better part of a decade at this point. But, I think this one, I think they kind of wanted an excuse to put in the animatronic in here, which I can understand. Right. But then they're just like, well, while we're in here, I guess we'll go ahead and just redo that.
And that's what I said. I said, They can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. Or had to gotta go in there and change everything. And that's the other thing too, Jared, is that you're gonna put Walton here, and supposedly he's gonna be introducing Walt's Carousel of Progress. Problem is this ain't Walt's Carousel of Progress at all. It's like he had no hand in this whatsoever. It would have been cool if he would have said, if he would have repeated a lot of the lines from the amazing specials that were actually filmed, like the Wonderful World of Color and so forth, going over the Carousel of Progress and all of that, and you're seeing this kind of depiction of, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what the idea or conceit is, and everything else. But now you're putting Walt in something that honestly, it's a different show. Frankly, it's just that he has no reference point for any of this stuff, and so it's like, they're just some things that I don't think should be updated. And maybe there was maybe there will be at some point some Imagineering team or some management team where it's like, okay, let's go ahead and actually do this. I'm not saying that there's never going to be that possibility, but the thing is first of all, if it was Walt doing it, I trust Walt. It's not, though. Yeah. It's these current crop of Imagineers who I don't trust, and that's why you have a lot of people online right now saying, hey, sounds good, just don't trust them to do it. Yep. That kind of thing. And my thing is, and I was talking to all kinds of people today about this, one of the things I said was, look, this current crop of Imagineers I don't think is necessarily capable of providing an attraction that endures for 60 plus years. Just don't think that's possible right there.
That's a very valid argument. And I think that is the crux of this. If this was an era where we had Imagineering that was like everything they were touching was gold, reverence for the past, and I think it maybe, I guess to play little devil's advocate, maybe this is shifting under Tomorrow now with Thomas Masloom and Joe Shoot. That's at Disney World. Mm-hmm. And I will say the recent refurbs that have opened have been pretty impressive, like from what I was anticipating them being. So maybe there is the beginnings of a little bit more of a shift there that is getting back to how they used to do things. But to trust them on something like this that Walt had his hand in, that's where it's just sort of like, if you're gonna do this, understand the relevance of this and how important this is. And it's not even, it's more important, at least I think historically, for Disney than Splash Mountain and things like that I don't think were even better after the refurb. So it's like, you got a lot of pressure on this. You better knock this one out, because if they go through this whole thing and it's just kind of like you were saying, a Country Bear Jamboree, where it's just kind of like sanitized, there's no personality to it, it doesn't have the heart of this ride, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are be very unhappy with this. And I think having the questions is completely justified. Until they prove it, I think the questions about a lot of the stuff they're doing are justified, and hopefully they do pull it off. But I'm the same with you. I'm like, yeah, it's just going in here messing with this. It's kind of like messing with a time capsule. It's like, I don't know if you should be doing that, but obviously at this point they seem hell-bent on doing it.
They're hell-bent on doing it, and people have said, look, it was never meant to be a time capsule. It was always meant to be updated or whatever. I have no information related to that at all. I have not seen evidence for that. But it's like, okay, well, of course Walt would have updated it. And it's like, okay, maybe Walt would have, and perhaps it maybe turned into a time capsule because of the whole thing of like, well, Walt worked on it and everything else. But it has taken on this kind of new life as this attraction that was from a certain time and place and era, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always awesome to walk into like Enchanted Room, for example, and just be immersed in something that could not be crafted today, let's say, and wouldn't be crafted in the same way. And it's like, it's like watching an old film, right? And like the hell that George Lucas caught for changing Star Wars. You just don't change these films. Right. There's just people want to have that experience. And I understand theme parks are living, breathing places, but this one thing right here, this is Walt's attraction. And to see it modified in this way, like you said, Jared, I just don't think it's a good idea. We'll see what actually happens, because we can't stop it now. Looks like they're going forward, and apparently the end date is going to be July 5th, right at the start of the summer season, which, for all those people looking to beat the heat out there in Walt Disney World, you'll have one less attraction to do that, which is not good. And for people who want to see this thing before it closes, good luck if you live anywhere in the 49 other states in
Yeah, and it was so quick to announce this. I mean, it's closing down with. I mean, they did the same thing. I don't know if there's relevance to it. They did the same thing with Rivers when they announced that was closing down. It's like you got 2 months. Like it was just this very quick thing that you're like, why is it so quick? And I get it too. Like I think and we talked about this on Theme Parking last night. It's like I think part of their strategy is learning from what they did last summer, which is shows and parades don't move the needle on attendance. Okay, a bunch of refurbs, a bunch of new stuff premiering this summer. They're throwing everything at the wall there. I think that's the game plan for the next coming summers is to have actual new attractions or refurbed attractions that are going to premiere. I'm not going to be surprised if not only this one, but one, maybe 2 other ones as well, because I think this is going to be their strategy. But I do agree with Erica Raff in the chat. She said, just because one can doesn't mean one should. And I think that's a pretty good point. And it's the same thing with like, could you remake the Star Wars original trilogy? Which I think Disney and Lucasfilm at some point will probably do. Doesn't mean you should, because you're not gonna one up the original trilogy. It's always, no matter how good you make a new one, it's always gonna pale in comparison to the original.
So true. I need that clip from Jurassic Park where you have Ian Malcolm saying, "You were so, you're so taken with, like the possibility." What you could do, then you never asked the question of whether you should, that kind of thing. MJ, write that down. In fact, MJ, let's go ahead and bring you on the screen right now and get you involved in this conversation right here, because I know you have some personal experience with this yourself. And also, too, I know you're bringing a poll on your Instagram right there, which we wanted to go ahead and tell everybody about as well, whether or not you agree or disagree with this update coming to the attraction. I want to go ahead and describe it to you all before actually putting in your answers to that poll. MJ, that's going to be your Instagram account, Instagram / MagicalyMJ, I do believe. Let's go ahead and put that in the chat right now.
Wow. Thank you, Vash. I appreciate that. My head is spinning. Absolutely. The comments are pouring in, and I'm over here like, my head is a very crazy morning. Like Jared said, we woke up to coffee and chaos.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. And so, MJ, let's go ahead and get your experiences there. And also, too, let's go ahead and involve the chat as well afterwards. But you had a very particular story that you shared of your own, maybe Kiddo's reaction to this news. Please, if you could please share. Awesome. If you don't want to, understand, but go ahead.
No, it's fine. Actually, when the news broke, I mentioned it to them when they got home from school. I said, do you guys remember Carousel of Progress? They were like, yeah, at the Magic Kingdom, because we had just went there on May 2nd. And I said, well, that's kind of going away. They're going to bring in new decades, and it's going to be changing significantly. And they both looked at me and they were like, but we really liked the way it was. We learned so much when we were in there, and why are they changing it, Mommy? And I was trying to find a way to explain why they're changing things. They actually learned a lot, and they find it so interesting. Sure. And there's so many people in the live chat saying exactly what a 7 and an 11-year-old had to say about this. Erica from Erica and Rav, but what about the innovation of travel, train, and aviation, black and white, TV to color? The kids brought that up as well. Mm-hmm. She also said, but it's cool to see how people did live in the past eras. Not everything has to be relevant to today. And that's what made it so special, even for Generation Alpha, to observe and absorb. They're like, wow, this is how it was. This is so cool. They found it fascinating, and they enjoyed this attraction very much. And they were looking forward to doing it again the next time we go. But now that's not going to happen. So That's on that end of the aspect. We have so many comments.
Yeah, so many comments. Real quickly here. It's like, okay, all right. So when Disneyland opens in 1955, right? Obviously, you would have a generation there going to those parks that actually lived through the turn of the century, right? They actually lived through that time period. And so it would affect them in a different way, maybe than, say, a child who actually never saw it. But as the decades have gone on, obviously, well, I don't think there's anybody living alive right now that actually saw Main Street when it was depicted and everything like that. And so it has a different effect, but an equally, or maybe even more so, powerful one, right? It transports you to a time and place that, maybe you didn't actually get to see, and it's this kind of wondrous, ideal view into that world right there. And it's like, well, could you ever imagine them updating Main Street on, at Magic Kingdom or at Disneyland? No, absolutely not. That would be absolutely insane. The Imagineers did, think of ways of maybe they can go ahead and forward that story a little bit for like Disneyland Paris, for example. Eddie Sato used to talk about this, right? He's like, oh, let's do the 1930s and all of that. Unfortunately, they didn't actually go in that direction. They just went back to Disneyland's Main Street because, well, it is so iconic. It is so breathtaking. It is so grand. And it works.
Everyone knows this song specifically from Dan's Life at the Kingdom. Please, no new song for Carousel of Progress. This is Walt's creation from beginning to end. Yes. Everyone in the live chat and on this panel, we sing this while we're showering, while we cook, while we're driving. This is a tune that lives in our heads. This was a beautiful orchestrated song for this ride, for this attraction. I don't even think of it as a ride. It's an attraction. It's something that you're in an auditorium and you're learning. It's educational. It's entertaining. It's in the AC, taking a break from the heat of the park. I mean, it was constructed so beautifully. But here's the kicker. So I can't help my managerial brain, right? You guys know I was a manager for like a decade. So I thought to myself, why is this happening? And I said, okay, the same issue with Tom Sawyer's Island. They could not monetize. They could not put lightning lanes. So approximately 240 guests can be seated per show in the Carousel of Progress at the Magic Kingdom. I think per hour, it's about 3,600 guests. And let's give the ugly truth here. That's not happening. So they're not selling the lightning lane for this attraction. And that's why this is happening, because all they're thinking about is, how can we monetize? How can we continue to pound the people after they've already paid admission to be into this theme park? How can we pound them for more money, basically? And that's the way my brain is just like wired that way, to think that way. And that's unfortunate. It's the ugly truth here.
Jared, do you think that if they do this, as well as they possibly could, that they would actually put on lightning to this? It's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I don't think they would go through all this trouble to not. I agree with MJ. I think a lot of the things they do nowadays is selling lightning lanes and creating, because they want. That's the thing. If you know the back end of the way they look at the parks now, it's like that's why the rivers went away. There was no ROI on the river, so they want something in there that has an ROI, that has demand. And I think that's very possible. My question for this is, they're going to have to do a virtual queue for this when it opens, because there's not like a huge area for a queue in this. And I think
that is correct, because there's not a demand. There's not a high demand. And let's face it, Jared, as often as you go, and us just being on our last visit, May 2nd, it was a walk on.
Oh yeah.
And there was 15 people in there maximum. I was singing throughout the whole time and no one cared.
Yeah, and that's
no one threw their shoe at me.
Yeah, when we did it last time, we just walked up. So we was like, we hopped in real quick. We waited no time at all. And one thing I will say is great about this ride, anytime your kids say they're bored, but you take them on this ride, you're just like, you could be in the 1920s. You could have to like all this stuff. So again, it gives like kids, like, it's educational, but also gives them a perspective of like what it actually was like. Because you can hear your parents say like, oh, when I was a kid, we had X, Y, and Z, but you actually see it. And then I think you have more appreciation for these things. And I think the idea too, that like younger generations won't enjoy this ride, I don't think that's true. Now, I think you could spruce it up. You could make it like I was saying, the auditorium in there could use a little, better flooring and things like that. But the idea that,
Jared, we all like the smell of the Carousel of Progress.
Listen,
we like the old carpet.
It reminds me of my grandma's basement. It's nostalgic for me, but I don't know how everybody else feels about it. But it's like, you could do this to make it more not relevant, but you can make it more appealing. But I just don't think that just because the time period alone doesn't mean that people aren't interested in this. It's just modern theme park people want rides. They want immersive attractions. It's not as much of this stuff nowadays. And I don't know how much in the long term this changes that. Like in the short term, when it opens up, it's going to be a ton of demand, but it's like, what's this look like a year or two later? I imagine it might fall back to where it was before. We could essentially just walk onto this. Would be
This is a perfect point right here. Chris A 426. They should add a gift shop at the exit. Of course, they're going to do that with this with the new edition of the new decades. They're going to have a gift shop relevant to items that you can, similar to the one where you can purchase like things from in Tomorrowland. There's a gift shop, and they have things from NASA that were, you know, around the time where that rocket that launched not too long ago. They're trying to stay consistent with what's happening right now. And believe me, after this refurb or whatever it's called, rehaul of the Carousel of Progress, God help us,
reimagining all that.
They're gonna have a gift shop, and they're gonna milk the cow till it dies.
Well, I don't know about gift shop. I don't know necessarily about Lightning Lane, but I do know this. It's interesting. So the Walt Disney Animatronic premiered over there at the Opera House, which you're actually seeing here on screen right now. The reason why I have this playing is because it's like the most analogous to what I had my access to, and also to the Walt Animatronic was the biggest thing until to this point. But okay, so when this made its debut, they actually did have virtual queue. Now it didn't last very long, but they did have it. So it's kind of I'm wondering what that actually looks like when it comes to Tomorrowland, and when it comes to like a more international or domestic tourist populace rather than a annual pass holder base that Disneyland is. I kind of want to know those crowd patterns and how they'll actually react to this. Look, I mean, if the argument is that this ride is boring, that doesn't change with the sets changing, right? Like Jared said, they want immersive experiences, they want rides, they want all of that. That doesn't fundamentally change with this. So I don't, obviously you can tighten up timings, edit and so forth, make it a little bit more snappier than it is right now. Maybe take out, whole lines of dialogue or whatever, which, by the way, they have done that in the past with like Enchanted Tiki Room, for example, right? In various iterations of that attraction, at least at Disneyland, they took out the Offenbach number and all of that in order to make it tighter. I think the show actually works better. You can do stuff like that and maintain the show. Now, I will say, one of the best outcomes that we can possibly have, Jared, MJ, I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on this. Okay, here's my thing. Here we do. You take the Carousel of Progress, okay, as it currently exists right there, and you take it on back to Disneyland. We get Disneyland. We get the original version of Disneyland where it all started, where it all began, and Walt Disney World. Because they're gonna have to wreck these sets anyway, I suppose. Yeah. They get the new version, right? And when you think about it, it's like, okay, this starts at the turn of the century, right? This original version right there takes you all the way back to the 60s, and then you continue the story here, Carousel of Progress, New Age at Walt Disney World. So at least the original stays somewhere. I think that would be very, very cool. The Carousel of Progress Theater is still there, and here's the thing, they could actually install it. I was thinking about it. I was like, I think they actually could install it even with that DVC lounge up
100%.
Over it.
I could totally see this living on in Disneyland where it rightfully belongs in its home. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree. I record. I don't have it released yet. I recorded the stuff for my video today on it, and I said that exact same thing. I was like, I feel like you should take this to Disneyland. You can have the updated version here. Yeah. At least that's a middle ground there, where it's like you've got the original, you got this updated one. I think I don't know if they'll do it, but I think they should. I think that would be a very good, like, especially again, Walt had a direct hand in this, and it's not like you've got a whole bunch of things laying around that Walt had a direct hand in. And as time goes along, this is my thing about the rivers. It's like, you can't really undo that. Like, once you undo it, and even if 20 years down the road, they're like, yeah, we made a mistake, we shouldn't have done that. It's not like you can re-implement it. It's just like it was. And I think things like this need to be treated a little differently. If you're wanting to do this in Disney World, fine. Take the original set pieces, because originally it wasn't Disneyland anyways. Put it over there, and I think that would make a lot of people pretty happy to do that.
I hate throwing so much on top of you guys, because I know you're getting through this segment. This segment is difficult because a lot of people are emotionally attached to this.
Of course, absolutely.
These are one of the many few staples that were in from Walt. So yes, we have BR Geist. I'm just unbelievably upset. This attraction made me interesting in history and technological progress as a kid.
Yeah.
And now I won't be able to share that with my kids. Everything I grew up loving is gone. I guess that's
Blown up, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blown up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
I believe you starred these, Vash. I starred some, and I know you did
Yes.
as well. So here they come again, Beergeist. This might be the final straw for me. It's devastating desecration of Walt's legacy and another example of them deceiving us about the extent of the change, only to pull out the rug. They keep giving us concept art, and it just doesn't deliver. I completely understand. I mean, do you
Yeah, I
guys want to
mean,
say anything about this?
well,
Two comments here.
look, when you look at Country Bear Jamboree, right? I mean, look, I know people who like that attraction. I know people who go to that attraction and all of that. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but it's just, to me, it's just simply not as good as the previous version of that attraction. And that was something that Mark Davis left for all of us. Now, obviously not on the maybe same level of Carousel of Progress with that connection to Walt, but in this case, like Jared said, the stakes are raised and the bar is higher, and all the things that go along with that. So you really have to get this right. And honestly, quite frankly, I just don't have the trust in them to do that. I think where the company is now with, its corporate culture and everything like that, I just don't think a ride that endures for as long as this one has is capable of coming out of of Imagineering today. I just don't see that happening. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I know you had a super chat that you want to save for another segment. So, but
Okay.
we will go ahead and showcase O2RR 499. Thank you so much, O2RR. Anyway, the heavy rain could delay this destruction the same way it did for Rivers of America. Just wishfully thinking for fun. Thank you, O2RR. Always bringing light to us. Funny and very comedic.
I mean,
Light
it
to a
rains
situation.
every day in Florida, but I imagine this is all
Yes.
going to be indoors. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance. It actually has started already. It's like the last 3 days, it's rained every single day at like 3:00. So it's already begun here in Florida.
Well, the wrath
Well.
of they called it the wrath of Walt because the
remember
rivers
that, yep.
refilled it with the rain last
I think it happened
year.
like 2 or 3 times. They had to keep draining it because it just kept refilling. It was like Walt was,
Yeah.
that was pretty funny to watch.
Anyway,
That was pretty great right there. And somebody's going to be very angry after this. I don't know if it's going to be Walt Disney per se. Not when it comes to the Carousel of Progress. I think Walt would have liked to see maybe a different iteration on it if you were going to update it and so forth. I don't know if this is the best version of Carousel of Progress it could have possibly gotten. But when it comes to the things you can actually do at the Contemporary, well, somebody's going to be angry over that. MJ, real fast.
yes, sir. We have a special request. There is
Please.
a viewer. They're not in the live chat. It's a very young viewer, and they are a special guest of I guess you would want to say a relative of a special guest that we have on this channel. It is the granddaughter of Tom F., who is our mod extraordinaire, and he's also responsible for the music on the show. And his granddaughter is watching live, and we just wanted to give her a nice shout out. Vash, if you will, please.
Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, big shout out. I know I do believe the granddaughter of Tom F., right?
Yes. For privacy,
is
we
in
won't
there.
say her name.
No, I'm not going to say the name, but hey,
Yes.
good to see you right there. If you're watching the show and if you like what you're seeing, awesome stuff right there. We'd love to have you as part of this whole deal. Now, MJ, make sure we are storing those relevant chats right there so that we go ahead and feature as many people as possible. You know the deal. You know the whole business right there.
It's a lot.
I very much
This
appreciate
segment,
it.
I was already anticipating this segment. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
She means
it's gonna
business
list a lot of
because
thoughts.
She's got a Bucky's hat on, and that's all.
Oh.
That's how you know people mean business when you see Boosie.
That's
you're
right.
like, there we go.
Pretty much.
That's right. We're in for the long haul, as it were. Thank you so much, MJ, for that. But from Walt Disney World news today, man, I don't know if you saw this one, Jared, but this one, everybody was freaking out over Carousel of Progress, rightfully so. I'm not saying that look, I was a little bit of Vash the Stampede over Carousel of Progress. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong in doing that, but something slipped by that I don't think a lot of people saw because of that outrage. Here you go from Walt Disney World News today. Gates installed at Contemporary Resort to prevent guests from using fireworks observation deck.
I
Over
did
there at
see
Alice.
this.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I saw it. I didn't get to really dig into it, but I did see it, and I was like, why? Like, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jared. There's a key to every lock at Disney. Do you know how you unlock those keys?
Magic.
Through money.
No,
Alice Kennedy here from May 28, 2026. There are multiple gates now installed on the 4th floor balcony of Disney's Contemporary Resort in an effort to prevent guests from using the fireworks observation deck.
Yeah, you're right.
The fourth. You see what I'm going with this? Okay.
Yeah.
You see, Jared's very smart. The 4th floor observation deck is considered a not-so-hidden gem location for Magic Kingdom's fireworks viewing. It was originally intended to be used by guests staying at the Disney Contemporary Resort. However, the new gates signify Disney may be trying to move away from that. You can see right here, Disney cast members confirmed with Walt Disney World News Today that the stairwells are supposed to remain clear for emergencies. The gates do lock, however. They were unlocked during our visit, and we were able to access the observation deck. Cast members are unsure if they will ever be locked, but the gates were installed to act as a deterrent. There are 2 gates, one on each stairwell leading to the observation deck. Okay, so I'm seeing this, and I'm going, okay. Why, Jared, would you offer something like this for free if you can charge for it? Yep. And I think that's the calculus that Disney is currently making with this. What do you think about all this? I mean, I was like, whoa, this is a big, big deal right here, because I know a lot of people, I mean, going back to Madame the Woo and before that, people know this trick to see a great fireworks presentation in this exact spot. And maybe that won't be the case for long. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think that as soon as you started talking about that, I was like, yep, they're going to do fireworks shows up here, viewing parties for that. They can probably charge what? I don't know what they go for now. Probably 150 at least a pop, maybe $100 or something like that. Have snacks and drinks you can watch. And I mean, we saw them also do this with the Polynesian, where they built that tower, was an area where people went to watch the fireworks viewing. And they were like, you know what? We're just going to build a tower here, and you got to stay here to view that. So it's very in line with what they've been doing. Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised they haven't done this yet, to be quite honest, because I never even thought about it. We don't go to the Contemporary that much. I do like Steakhouse 71, but yeah, I've never actually watched them from here. We've been up to we have some friends that are DVCs. We've been up to like the tower to see the fireworks up there, but this would be another thing they could monetize and probably run it, I'm guessing, every day of the week would be my guess if they were going to do this. So that's probably exactly what they're going to do. And I'm curious. I mean, it would be a safety thing. I guess those would have to open from the inside. It just wouldn't be from the outside, probably, is how they would do that.
Probably. It's a very interesting thing. Now, typically these stairwells, you have to actually be open for a fire and emergency and all of that. But I would guess that in the case of an emergency, if these had electronic locks on it, they would unlock automatically in order to get around something like that. So, look, I'm just saying, Disney is, I'm sure, looking into these things that they used to offer for guests and changing those based on popularity and trends and so forth. Look, I saw this at Disneyland years ago. Okay, I'll tell you this. When I first learned that you can go to Walt Disney World and look at fireworks from wherever, and they play music in all these different places, and it was like, wow, that's a big deal, because at Disneyland that doesn't exist. Okay, they used to have music in the Esplanade, this area between Disneyland and Disney California Adventures entrances, because they sit opposite to each other, and in that space you used to have annual pass holders who would actually camp out there, and or visitors to the Disney Resort, and actually see the fireworks there. And they used to have music they used to play in that spot. Well, it got so crazy they had to end that program with that music, and they discouraged people from actually sitting there at all, and all of that for traffic flow and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like, if these things become very popular, what do you do? Disney's tact has been to look the other way. Maybe now they're not. These gates are there for a reason. Just saying. Oh
yeah. They're just gonna put these up just to have a deterrent. I mean, I think modern day Disney many times is like somebody looking through the couch cushions to find extra money, and these are something where they're like, oh, wait a minute, we could throw a party up here. I mean, once you take fast passes and then you turn it into the lightning lane, essentially everything's on the table for what was originally a perk or free to then be monetized. And I think
Right.
that once I've always felt the changes that they did from 2020, they wanted to monetize fast passes for a long time before they did it. COVID happened and they were like, here's our chance. We're going to
That's
and
it.
I remember hearing this, like, when did the parks reopen in 2020? Was it like, I'm trying to remember the timeline there.
So Walt Disney World opened a few months after. I don't exactly remember when. I think it was maybe June.
Yeah, somewhere around
But
there.
at Disneyland, it was obviously April of 2021,
Yeah.
so they were closed for 412 days. But to your point, go ahead, Joe.
It was that long. Well, and like I was hearing before they're reopening, like from numerous people that were like, they're gonna do a whole bunch of different stuff here. Like they're gonna start changing. Okay, July, yeah, they're gonna change a bunch of stuff, and I think that was the biggest hurdle. Once they got that hurdle out of the way, the audience, whether they're kicking and screaming or not, accepted it. They're making money off of it. Everything else is like, if they do this, there's going to be some people that talk about it, but it's not going to be this big of a deal that people, they're just going to be like, well, yeah, okay, it's another thing. And they know that. And so you're probably going to see stuff like this that was free or a perk that is, maybe not all hours of the day, but when it comes to the fireworks show time, hey, we're having a party up here. You got to pay $120 to go do this. And that's just what they're going to do. And I think they're going to do this in probably other places as well, that they can get away with it.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do this. This is the route they're going there with this. And it's, to me, it's real sad to see some of these benefits and perks and so forth, and this kind of resort feeling that you're actually going to Walt Disney Resort property, no matter where you're actually staying, be rescinded a little bit, or that bubble get a little bit smaller there. Not good. I don't like this. I thought it was really important to bring out because I think Disney's looking at all of these little tricks and things that people used to do in order to I don't want to say booch off the company, but these things that people used to enjoy that weren't monetized before. They're looking at that. Just saying. And
this is why whenever you find little things like this, I mean, for like our podcast and my channel, like I don't always advertise them, because once it hits that mass critical where everybody knows about these things, it's literally just a matter of time before Disney comes and either cuts it down, or they're like, hey, this is popular, let's monetize this. And so it's like, it's very, there's still things you can do that you can find little nooks and crannies of, but like I think as time goes along, less and less of those will be in existence.
I think so. I think that's the way we're going right here. Very sad to see. Not great, but c'est la vie. That is what's going on here. Now, some good news, some bad news. Depends on where you actually sit on this particular story right here. This one, very important. I want to go ahead and feature this one again because maybe we have different audience members that maybe didn't catch our live stream with Jared OG and theme park editor myself yesterday. I'm going to go over this right now. This from Theme Park Insider by Robert Niles. Universal Orlando removes Express Pass for Hagrid's. It looks like the Universal Express Pass experiment is over for one of Universal Orlando's most popular attractions. Universal Orlando Resort has removed Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure from the list of eligible attractions for the Universal Express Pass. In social media replies, Universal's official account said that the change comes into effect on July 1st, but the roller coaster is no longer listed as an express option on Universal's website as of today. This was May 26th, so 2 days ago. If anyone is Islands of Adventure at there today, please let us know if the express lane is open for the ride or not. I believe it is. I've not heard of them shutting it off.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it. I think I talked to somebody that was there earlier, and they didn't write it, but they said it looked like Express was still going there.
Gotcha. The addition of a Universal Express queue has been awful for fans waiting in the standby queue for Hagrid's, which was already one of the longest waits in the park due to the ride's popularity and capacity. Standby wait times for the ride routinely stretched into multiple hours, which could not have been great for guest satisfaction scores at Islands of Adventure. Hagrid's opened in 2019, but did not initially offer Express, so it's been late addition to get Express. I believe it was added. Was that August of last year? Is that right?
May of last year, actually. So it's been just about a year since they put it on there.
Well, there you go. My biggest problem with these skip the line passes, such as Universal Express, is overselling. To paraphrase Syndrome, when too many people can skip a queue, no one does. A line skip pass used by more than 10% of our park's visitors becomes an operational impediment. In my honest opinion, I don't think it's quite, I don't think it's like that threshold is quite that low. I don't even know if people would actually notice 10%. But look, when you get into those higher rangers, obviously, it becomes like, okay, well, now you're waiting there for a while if you're in the standby queue. And this line was regularly in the triple digits. And I love how you brought up the thrill data on this, Jared. And I want to go ahead and do that for our guests as well, because I think it's really, really pertinent to this discussion right here. You can see with the year, you can see that kind of rise right there. I mean, it's right at that point in which they had Express on. And honestly, it's like, I think your math, you were saying it was maybe like 30% was the average.
It was, I ran it through on Grok, and it was an increase. Since they've implemented Express Pass for Hagrid's, it has seen an increase of roughly 20 to 35% in the wait times and the standby times.
So there you go. I mean, that's what you're getting right there, which obviously is going to happen with any Lightning Lane, or in this case Express benefit, because that capacity has to come from somewhere. Again, if Hagrid's is doing 1,400 people per hour, which I had to check, I think El Toro Ryan has the best data when it comes to hourly capacity for the attraction.
He's got a lot of good data on that. Yep.
Got a lot of good data. If it's 1,400 per hour, that's what it is. There is no 1,500, 1,600 add-on, whatever. Now, they did do a lot of things in order to maximize capacity on this. Like, for example, I believe they built was a new storage location for the trains, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was I think it was like a maintenance shed, essentially. That was because part of the operational issues with this, I think at the start of the day, they had to run through these checks. And so the first part of the day, they had way less capacity than they would have later. So the idea there was that they could open up the ride with the full capacity, whatever that is, and not have that like delayed, essentially like full operational capacity.
Which, I mean, to be honest, folks, I mean, that's amazing dedication to that. I remember covering that story at the time, and it was like, I gotta give props to him, because nobody else would do that. I mean, that's kind of a big move in order to provide a great guest experience for what is certainly high capacity. Now, it might have been in the interest of serving Express, and well, I mean, frankly, yes, but still a big move right there. Didn't need to do that. This is already a very expensive attraction, and so you're just adding more costs to it. But as I think Robert Niles put it right there, the experiment, as it currently stands right now, didn't actually pay off. I think they had a lot of unhappy guests who were just looking at the Express move, and they stood still. So to me, I think it is quite the commitment to the guest experience for Standby to do this. And Jared, there's some concerns relating to this when it comes to, I think you mentioned the contracts associated with Lowe's and Express and all of that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so when we were covering this, it's like on its face, like I give them full credit. If they did this simply for the overall guest experience, like hats off, because like they're going to have a bunch of negative PR. You're already seeing people saying like, oh, we booked a trip in August and we got Express Pass essentially for Hagrid's and things like that. But my theory was they might try and put this, obviously the wait times have increased quite a bit. And the idea there being with Express Pass, like if you have Express Pass, it's more expensive. You don't have as many of those people walk around the park as you do with Lightning Lane, which was my biggest complaint about Lightning Lane, is like everybody in the park essentially can get it. And then you don't really have a faster line. You just have another standby line. But my thinking was they might throw this into Express Pass now, which they've been experimenting with, which is single rider access. And I think if they did it, I mean, you could probably charge $50 for this and people would pay it because it's that in demand of a ride. Now, the stipulation is, and I don't know the answer to it, some people have speculated, I think Tom Bricker was one of them from Disney Tourist Blog, that said that Lowe's contract that they have with those hotels involved the three hotels that included unlimited express with your stays. And I don't think that's going to expand to other Universal hotels anytime soon. but that they might be limited, that if Hagrid's is not on Express Pass, they may not be able to offer it as a Express Pass now. I don't know if that's true. I would assume if they can, they probably will for this. But even if they can't, and they just did this for the guest experience, I mean, I will give them hats off for that, because it's a delicate balancing act with these, or it should be, at least with cut the line systems, in that ideally they probably want people to be like, oh man, look how quickly they're moving through that line. Let's just go get Express Pass and get it. But at the same time, you can't have it so lopsided where people are just insanely frustrated. They're not going to drop $1,000 for a family of 4 to get it, and they can't even ride an attraction they want. So if this move was simply just for the standby line alone, it's a rare thing. I don't recall any time in recent history we have seen anything like that from a major theme park destination. And so that's what this is. Like, I will give them all the credit in the world, because that is not a decision you take lightly on a ride that has this much demand, that clearly they were monetizing from it with Express Pass sale.
I was checking some Reddit forums to try to see what the guest recovery was like, because I think, Jared, we had some questions about that and what Universal might end up doing. And from what I can tell, nobody's actually gotten guest recoveries that I've seen. There have been reports that people have, but I couldn't actually find that in my research initially, which was a little bit disappointing. But look, it just goes to show you that people actually did opt in for these services, whether it be as part of hotel packages, APUs, all of that, in order to get Express for this ride specifically. That's what they did.
Yep.
And so to take this off in the way they have is pretty crazy. It is pretty wild. We, like you said, Jared, we've just never seen this before right here. I'm sure it was a money train for them, but it was like, we're gonna put experience first. And that's not to say that they might not do Express now at certain times or whatever. Maybe they will. But for right now, it is off. And it's like, goodness gracious. When I was tracking the thrill data as far as like Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, for example, after an update for that ride, and it's just did not move the needle whatsoever on that experience. In fact, it may have gone down, which is pretty surprising to me. We'll have to see what it actually looks in the long term right there. But they spent millions of dollars on that, 18 months of development on that attraction right there to do that upgrade and that update. Like I said, there's 8 GPUs, quadro GPUs per pod right there, right? When you have 30 pods per coast, do the math. That's quite a bit, when every single one of those is probably well over $5,000. So you do all this stuff, doesn't move the needle. For this ride, this opened the same year that Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run did at Galaxy's Edge, and it's still triple-digit wait times. Part of that's capacity, sure, no question. But the other part of that is just simply demand. It is one of the best coasters, frankly, at Universal.
It's fantastic. It's my favorite ride. I love it. I guess you could call it a family coaster, and I think that's what lends to its popularity. Like, you got Velocicoaster, which is newer, but that is way more intense, and so I think that limits how many people are interested in riding that. This is, I'm not a big coaster person, but I do love this ride, and I think a lot of, like, my daughter now loves it, and so, like, personally speaking, I'm bummed because we have premier passes, and now we're not gonna be able to access it. And that's why it was surprising they did it. I was like, well, I don't think the standbys have been that bad, but I realized I hadn't been through the standby line since they introduced Express, because that's all we use. And I will say the Express line worked great. I think we rode it 2 or 3 times in the same day, and it was like 20 minutes, maybe less wait time for it. But if you look at those charts, it's undeniable that this has had an impact on that. And I think this goes into, like, Islands of Adventure need some help, which it's getting. They're currently demolishing Lost Continent. So while this is off now, and even if they don't do Express Pass now, it'll be back within a couple of years. I mean, once Pokemon comes online, I'm sure that's going to get a lot of the attention. You might see it come back then. We saw the same thing with Flight of Passage. It took a long time before that became part of Express Pass, although I think Hagrid's has more sustainability, like in terms of demand, than that ride did. But I mean, I was shocked when they did it, because it's not, anytime you look at this, it's like, how much money? I would love to know how much extra money did they make in Express Pass sales when this came on there, and then they're willing to basically just undo that. It probably operates from a place of confidence that they like everything else that they have, but also they're still in market share mode, and they are going to be more, I think, responsive to guest feedback. And they had to have had a lot of guest feedback that were very frustrated with this ride to be able to make this change.
Big times right there. This one, man, it took me by surprise. Honestly, it was like you just don't see this done in the modern theme park era. And Universal, I'll give them credit for putting the guest experience first, at least for now. Obviously the changes, obviously, things ebb and flow. If Pokemon, like you said, Jared, were to come online and demand just switches the other way, obviously, we have this discussion again. Probably it looks different. But for right now, just can't. And this is why they need to expand their parks as rapidly as probably possible in order to deal with some of this demand, which brings us to... Oh, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, I think they probably thought Epic would offshoot a lot of that. Like, I think when you're bringing a new park online, you don't really know exactly how the audiences there, the crowds are really going to react to it. I think they thought... And I did ask a guy, and he said, like, you might be right about that works inside Universal. That, like, they thought that you got Battle of the Ministry and all this Nintendo stuff in Epic Universe, that a lot of the demand would shift and maybe it would lessen off of Hagrid's. Obviously, that didn't happen. And I think that may have been the calculus why they put it on there. Then they get the data back, and they're like, okay, not yet. And now it's just again, this will be back at some point. It's just when. And if Pokemon Land has, let's say, 2 attractions, it's probably at that point, I would imagine it comes back online, would be my guess.
I would think so. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of frustrating with this ride because it was never able to hit its true theoretical capacity from Intamin as they promised. And you just want to see something like this, be high capacity and put through as many people as possible, but it simply cannot. Let's go ahead and bring MJ on in order to round up some of our commenters over there and bring you all in. And MJ, you're free to comment on this as well if you have any comments, questions, concerns. Okay, go, please.
You guys are doing fabulous. We just have, we did not forget about you, The Real Ventures. Thank you so much for the $5. Did you hear that Epic Universe tickets for annual pass holders dropped in price? What do you think it means, Jared, Vash?
Yes, indeed. So if you see this right here, I'm going to put this on. This by Coaster K24. Awesome stuff right there. Epic Universe tickets have decreased in pricing yet again for pass holder single day. Really low weekend pricing, and even some days dip under $100 pre-tax in August. Can we get APs, guys? So that's what everybody's thinking right here. It's like, is demand waning in order to justify these price decreases? And by the way, Real Ventures, very much appreciate you. That's the big question right now. You can kind of see right there in the lower part of your screen, the 27th being 101, 28th being 94, 29th being 98, which is, pretty significant for Epic Universe as it currently stands right there. Jared, what say you when it comes to this chart right here? Because I thought it was very interesting, and Alicia Stella is saying, like, can we get APs with all of this? What say you?
Yeah. Some people are saying don't buy the tickets, make them do the APs with this because it's a bait or something. I think with a lot of those lower prices you look at toward the end of August, that is pretty typical of theme parks having lower. I mean, kids go back to school, so end of August, early September, a lot of times they're very slow times. It could be a reflection of that. It could be as well. I mean, I think the weekends is a lot of the locals that do come there, and maybe they're seeing a downtick, obviously, because you don't lower the price unless you have to. I say this about Disney. They don't run discounts just out of the goodness of their heart. They're trying to get you to come, and they're seeing stuff there that they think they need to offer the discount on the prices. So there probably is something to that, I think, in the demands on the weekends there. It also could be, and we talked, at least I talked about this whenever they were sending out those surveys about the Epic Universe APs. I think the better, because that was tied to a park reservation system. I don't imagine that would go over very well in the Universal crowd. But I had said I think a better option would be to sell lower price ticket packages to APs. Maybe it's at an average of $75 or whatever it is, that they could kind of operate as an AP perk of this park. Maybe they're doing that a little bit here of like, okay, when it's slower, we're really going to discount these prices for the APs and not introduce the annual pass option to Epic Universe quite yet. But obviously they're seeing something in the waning demand on the weekends there. And they're making an adjustment there. So I'm not really sure exactly what's going on with it, but I think coming up with the 1 year mark, and how this park in the demand, and we're seeing a lot of even Universal hotel discounts this summer as well. So maybe they're looking at a little bit of a fall off since Epic's opening. You do have expansions announced, and everybody knows about the wait times here. So maybe you've got the worry that people are going to wait to come to Epic now until some of these new expansions are done, which is always a thing with theme parks. So it could be a little bit of everything there. I don't know if they'll do the APs, though. I don't know if it's a good idea. Like, I want it in theory, but if they're going to tie it to a park reservation system, my whole thing was like, would you even have availability? Would you be able to actually go when you want to go, sort of thing? And the price point they put that at, I think, was like an extra $2,000 a year on the APs for the, was it 2,000? It was something like that. It was double the price. I think it would have been 2,000 total. Sorry. It was like doubling the price of what you were paying for like an AP to include Epic. So it's like, I don't know if this park's ready for it quite yet, but obviously they're seeing something in some of those weekends there, because they wouldn't price it there if they didn't feel like they needed to.
Yeah, we heard actually from those surveys and the discussions around it. I think Black Mickey pointed this out when I originally covered it, but they were saying that the weekends were actually lower attended than the weekdays, which is very, very interesting for a park like this.
True. I was checking out the prices on Terra Luna and Stella Nova over Memorial Day weekend, guys. And this is not a lie. The one room at Terra Luna was $120 for the night. And he's saying Dan's Life at the Kingdom, Stella Nova was at $104.
Yeah.
Amazingly discounted rates at their hotels. And these are the ones that are right next to Epic.
We booked Helios for my wife and I's birthdays of one day apart in July. We booked Helios theme park view for, I think the total cost was $220 for a night on a theme park view at Helios. Like, I was shocked when we saw it.
2 queen beds?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
amazing.
I mean, and they definitely, I saw Stella Nova because we initially were booked at Stella Nova because it was cheaper, and we because I saw that under 300, I was like, let's just do that. So
yeah, no, absolutely, for a couple like $100 or two more. I have another one that I just feel bad because there's so many comments, and we really do appreciate every single one of you in the audience. You guys make this show. Absolutely. And we appreciate every comment and interacting and talking amongst each other about all the things theme park related. Chef Eddie 6164, I did highlight this because I wanted to address something. The meet and greets will become like Vegas and New York, where you have to pay to meet the characters and take a photo. No, I'm not doing that. I really think that lately it's something extra spectacular happening between Captain Cacao making his grand appearance at Epic and getting his autograph, the keepsake, and that was free with your paid admission. Hollywood Studios they're revamping everything over there at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, where you can meet characters that are just roaming around and practically,
right, that's a big deal.
And playing with the kids, Rapunzel, Pluto, and I'm just naming a few, and there's no extra cost. This is included with your admission. So please, I just wanted to let people know that a lot of really good opportunity for character meet and greets is happening right now.
I have a theory that I had this guess a couple of years ago that at some point, I think Disney would be the first one. I wouldn't be shocked if they had a version of the Lightning Lane that was just for meet and greets. Like, meet all the characters at some sort of discounted rate. You can cut the line. I could totally see them doing it where the meet and greets are still free technically, but you could get this pass that allowed you to do all these ones.
I mean, characters are a big, big deal, and the monetization of characters, honestly, that's happening now. It's called PhotoPass. That's kind of what that is, right?
Very true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's whatever people have demand for. Disney will provide that solution. Unfortunately, in the recent era, it's been in the way of money. Hopefully, that doesn't continue. And I think the animation courtyard, like MJ pointed out astutely, I think it's a good shift there, especially for Walt Disney World guests who aren't necessarily, it's not a regular thing for Walt Disney World guests to be exposed to roaming characters. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just pointed this out at Dan's Life at the Kingdom. Thank you so much. Jared, this is for you. Toothless Meet and Greet Express Pass. What do you think about that?
Do they? They don't have that part of it yet, do they? I was trying to remember. I don't think they do, but that one I could totally see it because that thing is like an hour long. It's a great meet and greet. Like our kids did it, and like they take a lot of time with the kids. And the animatronic is really cool, but could totally see it, especially as Universal gets more like if Captain Cacao really kicks off, and Theme Park Wizard even said there's some permits or some trademarks where they might have like Sergeant Lolly or something as well with Celestial Park. Like if they get some of these character meet cutes really going and as much demand as there is in like Nintendo, Super Nintendo World for meeting some of these characters, I could see them throwing it into Express Pass, especially at Epic, to justify that price point even more. It wouldn't surprise me.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. Ah, man. Just, don't like that. But hey, I like Captain Cacao. He's pretty cool right there. I know MJ is fond of him as well.
Very much. I was freaking out. No, I don't know the technology behind those suits, but they have to have some kind of mechanism to cool these people, these poor actors down. Holy cow. It is hot.
So sometimes not. Most times not. So it's
someone out there knows the secret.
Job. Yeah. And like I said,
water flowing through you.
Yeah, like you get those water cooling vests now. But like I said when we covered that original story of Captain Cacao, Jared, that he was meeting people at night. So it's like for a reason.
Yeah, I think they did do it in the day, and it was like I was watching it, and they went to an area, and there was like no shade. I was like, oh, that's gonna be rough. Like they're gonna have to make sure they got those brakes swapping out because it's gonna get real hot in that suit in Celestial Park because there is no shade, no relief in that area of the park.
Rough, right?
And these are part of the things that they have to continue to streamline. Epic is such an infant park, and I'm not in a rush to go see it because I know that they're tweaking things and streamlining, just like any new theme park that's newly built. She just completed her first birthday. We have to give her time to grow. And I'm very patient. And I feel like if anyone out there feels, if they feel like they're left out, oh, I haven't been to Epic yet, just take it easy. Don't worry. They're just going to keep getting better and better. You're not missing anything yet. And it's, look at Captain Cacao is here now. He wasn't there a few months ago. So imagine what's to come in the next 6 months and a year from now. So,
and here's the thing, we might have our first clue about the growth of Epic Universe because we have this story right here, new attraction coming to Epic Universe. Dark Universe, actually, according to new permit. This is by Alicia Stella right here, May 26, 2026. According to new recent permit activity, it appears a new attraction is being developed for the Dark Universe section of the Universal Epic Universe. This is the world where the Universal monsters roam. The new future attraction would be a third ride for the land after, quote, Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment, indoor attraction, and the, quote, Curse of the Werewolf spinning roller coaster. The new permit details filed with the Orange County government, which were first discovered by Theme Park Wizard there, good shout out there, are only for the site work at this time. The new details tie into a prior permit we have discussed, which was explicitly listed for, quote, mass grading, utility points of connection, and reroutes for early work purposes of a future attraction known as Project 680. You can see that permit right there listed, provided by Parks Up and Alicia Stella right there, found by Theme Park Wizard originally. Comment notes on today's permit mention, quote, Area 680, a likely reference to Project 680 permit from before, as well as a new building. The new building is listed as Building 1570. All buildings that start with 15 are for structures only located within Dark Universe, that section of the theme park, which places our Mystery Project 680 within the Dark Universe limits. So there's some, additional information that Alicia Stella actually provides, as well as rumors for what this could actually be ultimately. And it looks like the conversation has shifted a little bit. I mean, Jared, I heard for the longest time it was going to be Creature from Black Lagoon that was going to go in there. And honestly, it makes sense if you make it a boat ride, of course. And maybe even an indoor boat ride, but certainly a boat ride traditionally in this park. Well, it's lacking. Right, you do have an attraction in which you spray water jets and so forth on a boat in the How to Train Your Dragon area of this park, Isla Burke. But I think a lot of people were maybe hoping for a traditional boat ride, something like perhaps Pirates of the Caribbean or something else in this park on day one, didn't get it. We might be, but it might have taken a different tact. They might be going with a different character, that being the Bride of Frankenstein. Jared, I know we had this conversation last night, but have any of your thoughts changed? And maybe you can collaborate with our new audience right here what your thoughts on all about this.
Yeah, this has been ever changing. It's very interesting, and having the channel has grown, like people from Universal reach out from time to time. And I was told about, I'd say 6 months ago, we knew the Ministry of Magic expansion, and then the debate was between internally Super Nintendo World and Dark Universe. And 6 months ago, it was going to be Super Nintendo World. They were leaning towards Zelda, and you're like, okay, third time's the charm for Zelda at some point. And then
yes,
3 or 4 days before this really broke, another one of them hit me up, and it was like, it looks like it's gonna be Dark Universe. And what's interesting is originally they were, whatever the expansion for Dark Universe, they were looking, Mack Rides has this coaster water ride hybrid system that looks really cool. I think it premiered out in Paris at one of the parks out there, or somewhere in France. But it's a Mack Rides, and Mack built Stardust Racers. And apparently Universal is not really happy with Mack, given the issues with that ride. And so then they were leaning toward Bride of Frankenstein. And then apparently this might be still leaning toward Bride of Frankenstein, but some sort of different type of boat ride that's not going to be that Mack ride system. So I agree with you. I think a boat ride in this park would be great. Obviously something indoors, something that just kind of like Monsters Unchained, that moves a lot of people through it. I think both this one and Ministry of Magic are going to be indoor attractions that this park really does need. So that's how I think they may have finally decided. Because one thing about Universal, they run through ideas like crazy. The only 2 things I have been essentially very confident in what I was told was Fast and Furious Coaster replacing Rip Ride Rocket, and Pokemon replacing Lost Continent. Those are the only 2 things that I've been told these are for sure happening. This other stuff changes all the time. So I think maybe this is finally them saying this is coming here, but what is still coming in here? I kind of wonder if they're still debating this, because it seems like they're still kind of going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they are just a little bit. I mean, look, we know that these expansion paths in these various lands do exist, right? For future expansion. Obviously, I think Super Nintendo can go towards the north, or the north of the park, not if you look at this compass, I think it's skewed, but right. You know what I'm getting at.
Yep.
Beside Dark Universe, that's where that expansion pad is, and then beside the obviously the Wizarding World, what is the Battle at the Ministry ride, you can see that where that footprint is. It's it's all there, and it's just, I think your description is right, Jared. It's all which one's going to be first? We've got to build something now. And so I think path least resistance, I think, lies with Dark Universe, because it's in-house franchise, IP, whatever, just go. And when it comes to Dark Universe, it's interesting. We were going over this, and my impression is it's a very small land, but it's also a land that doesn't have maybe a lot of people that the other lands do. And so it's okay, can we drive additional demand back to this area of the park and balance these crowds out? That might be part of the calculus that's actually occurring right here. Either way, I mean, I know Alicia Stella says Bride of Frankenstein isn't represented in an attraction form in this land currently. Gilman or Creature from Black Lagoon is, so maybe that might be part of that equation right there. The other thing too, yeah, I heard that, I think Theme Park Wizard pointed this out, that a equivalent boat ride system very similar to Mack might be implemented, but this time from Intamin, which is kind of interesting that Intamin's the more reliable one in all this. That's usually not how that goes.
That's what they've been really. I mean, Intamin has been with Hagrid's. They did it with Hiccup's Wing Gliders. They're now using it with the Fast and Furious Coaster. They love working with Intamin, so it wouldn't surprise me. And I think once Mack Rides came out, that ride system, other ride manufacturers would do something similar along those lines. But no, this land. Have you ever been this land, Vash?
I've never been to Epic Universe, so I have
very limited experience.
This is why you're here, Jared.
Well, when you go, you let me know, and I'll hang out with you. It's a cool park, but this land in particular is pretty small, and It depends on what time of day you go. Monsters Unchained, I think, actually as good. I love the ride and it moves a ton of people through it, but I think it's so efficient that you don't have a lot of people that just kind of hang out in this land either. Because the other ride is the Curse of the Werewolf, which it gets higher wait times, but it is not worth like
Monsters on average is a 15 to 20-minute wait, as it should be, because this is the way it was built and intended to be. So you're not, they're not worried about monetization. They're doing
it's
their
a
job.
monster ride. It's a monster capacity people eater. It's crazy
100%.
how many
100%. And so I think
because they took their time to craft this thing properly, something enjoyable. And that will, like you guys said, it's a giant people eater, and they're not focusing on how can we, milk the cow more. This is amazing. Every single POV, every single vlogger, 15 to 20 minutes max. I have never seen this, unless it's down, then you would have higher wait times because people stand by anyway. But to see the low wait time on this, it's actually enlightening. It's enticing for people to get a ticket to Epic and go experience this amazing world of Dark Universe.
I think the longest I ever waited on this was during previews. I think it was like 45 minutes. But ever since this park has been open, it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And it's not that it's not an in-demand ride. It just moves people through it. But once you get out of here, you got Curse of the Werewolf, which is probably like a tier, third tier type of attraction that it isn't really like, it's almost like you got Flight of Passage and Navi River. It's just not the same caliber. So there's not a lot of stuff that you got some restaurants in here, but it's not very big. There's not a lot that keep people in here as much, like say to compare to Super Nintendo World. So putting another attraction in here is going to draw more people in here, something indoors. So I think it's a good choice to go here. I could understand why wanting to do Nintendo because it's so busy, but I agree with you, what you said last night. I think there could be some issues with Nintendo and really nailing down something because Nintendo is notoriously very, very controlling. And so not that it won't ever happen, but for whatever reason, they just went, okay, let's just do this one. We do Ministry of Magic, get more stuff in here. And then, there's expansion paths for everything in here, I think, except for Isle of Berg. And there's a whole other portal they can do as well. So they're going to add a ton of stuff in here within easily 10 years. But it looks like, Dark Universe and Ministry are going to be the first two. And I think construction timeline shifted. I think they're going to start constructing this and Ministry Magic expansions at the same time. Sometime later this year is what I was also told.
That's some big stuff right there. Big stuff going on at Epic Universe. And we know that there's already expansion going on. I guess expansion loosely because it did technically replace an attraction, but Fast and Furious, right? That we know that's in the works right now. That'll have its own set of demand for Universal Studios Florida, that theme park right there. And Alon's Adventure, Lost Continent is breaking ground, and they're moving pretty rapidly on that one as well. So a lot of great stuff coming to these Florida parks right here. Awesome stuff. But, Florida is one location. Texas is another. And apparently we got some news regarding the opening of that theme park over there by Universal, but this time in Frisco, that being Universal Kids. Breaking! Universal Kids Resort announces opening date. This is by Alice Kennedy over there at Walt Disney World News today, May 28th, 2026. Universal Kids Resort in Frisco, Texas has announced its opening date. It's specifically designed and developed for families with young children. The park officially opens on July 1st, 2026. The names of the land are as follows: DreamWorks Shrek Swamp, DreamWorks Puss in Boots Del Mar, Illuminations Minions versus Minions Bellow Bay Club, Jurassic World Adventure Camp, DreamWorks Troll Fest, Nickelodeon SpongeBob SquarePants Bikini Bottom, and the Isle of Curiosity. The park is full of interactive areas and elements like dreaming up imaginary worlds with sidewalk chalk, water blasters, and bubble blowers. Sounds pretty cool, but how much is it gonna cost you is gonna be the next question there, and we have some information regarding that as well. This is by Theme Park Scope here. If we actually scroll down, we've got the numbers for the entry, at least initially, and obviously this might vary when you actually go because, everybody uses dynamic pricing now. Fantastic. But one-day tickets starting at $54.99, two-day tickets starting at $73.99, annual passes starting at $129, $129, annual passes with parking starting at $164. I will say they actually mentioned that this is silver, so people have been speculating on whether or not they're actually going to bring out multiple tiers for annual passes. They might, but this is the initial pricing as we currently know it. Now, if you're used to Disney or Universal, well, that sounds like a pretty good deal, and it is. The thing is well, this is a smaller park, obviously, on offer, and also too, it's made for the little ones. And well, with its price tag right there, you do get, maybe that price's worth of quality when it comes to this space, right? It's more kind of like the Legoland side of things more than it is like a international destination, for example. And so I think it's priced accordingly. Now, people were saying that this is priced maybe a little bit more than they were expecting for original park of this caliber right here, but I think the pricing is pretty decent and everything like that. The hotel pricing, I've seen a lot of estimates out there. Some were saying, it's $350 or whatever. It's like, well, this says $209, as you can see right there. I've even seen prices that are less than that. Just kind of depends on when you actually stake your claim here. It's a 300-room hotel, so that might have something to do with it as well. But big updates for this. We also have some more video of this park showing it off. And July 1st, big date. Jared, a lot of information, but what do you think?
Well, I've been waiting to hear when this is going to open because we are going to go check this out this summer. We had a family reunion in Missouri, so it's all going to work now. So we're going to check this out in middle of July. I think the pricing is solid. I will be going to this. My kids are right in the prime age for this, and it's very much Legoland, like Peppa Pig Park caliber type of stuff. What's interesting about this park is where it's built. They had to really make some accommodations because the local ordinances there, they don't want this to be this big, massive tourist destination. It's much more of a locals type of setup. And so they had to there's nothing under all the buildings and everything had to be under certain feet. No fireworks show. Park closes at 6:00. So it is it very much.
It's not open all year round, I do believe.
They said they're going to close it down November, December, and January. I saw another article that said that, which I had questions about that too, because in Texas it does get cold in the winter. I think the pricing is pretty solid. I mean, I think the hotel pricing if they're doing it like they do the Universal parks, that's dynamic, so that will change based off of availability and things like that. And this is a whole new venture for them and all this stuff like that. So I think the pricing is solid. I think the park will serve its purpose for what it is, which is, kiddie attractions, kids get wet. They go in here. I know they've got some areas for tactile stuff and kids with sensory issues, which I did like to hear that. So, I mean, I think it seems pretty cool. And I think this concept will grow. I've had the theory for a while that you could see this type of park come to Orlando at some point. They have extra space over there. I think this is 30 acres. It's nothing huge. I mean, if you look at Magic Kingdom and Epic Universe are 110 acres. So it's a much smaller park, but it's going to be, geared toward families. And I think the idea here is much more of a kind of a chill theme park day, just, spending time with your family, doing this stuff like that. But I'm pretty excited to check it out. And I think my kids are going to enjoy it. And I think most kids probably will. I would say 10 and under is probably the age range of this park.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair right there. Look, I am encouraged to see the pricing as competitive as it is. Now, obviously, Universal, they might think that they can get just a little bit more than the regional average, or I should say, not the regional average, but the regional park average, I guess. But I mean, I think they might offer a really compelling product right here, and I like how they had some restraint with the pricing here as well, because I think we saw the Halloween themed entertainment space at Vegas, and I think it was Horror Unleashed.
Yes, Horror Unleashed.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's too aggressive right there. It's tickets can run you well over $100 for that event, and it's I don't think it's the right pricing for that. I think if you would have priced it a little bit more competitively, especially with that Vegas market right there, I think it could have really thrived. But I think it just asked a little bit too high up front. So here, it looks like they're showing a little bit more restraint when it comes to the pricing for this park. I think it's really, really good. I think it's going to be in their best interest to do that. Obviously, you have families that are maybe underserved from the big two right now, which this park is really kind of geared towards. And so I think it's pretty awesome that it's like, okay, like we're not going to go like super crazy out the gate. I mean, maybe that changes, but for right now, pretty good.
It could. Well, it's interesting is the concepts for this park. I think Mark Woodbury spoke to this months ago. Was it's to introduce Universal to younger audiences that get them into the Universal brand to essentially graduate to the bigger parks. So it's a unique approach. I mean, I really haven't. I don't think Disney's ever done anything remotely like this. Of really, they're just trying to get. I think they're gonna. You're probably. I've heard rumblings of like up in Washington. I've heard rumblings of East Coast as well. So I think you're going to see more of these pop up, and the whole. I'm sure they want to make money on this, but I think this is more of trying to get kids and families into the Universal brand with some of the IPs that they have, and then because Universal for a lot of times it's like not for the littles. It's like the teenagers and up. It gets more thrilling and things. And I think this is their attempt to kind of like break into that demographic a little bit. And yeah, I mean, honestly, and that's the thing too, at a park like this, it's like, it's kind of hard to be disappointed whenever you're pricing it $54. You know what this park is. I think it'll serve its purpose well. I guess the question will be, is there enough local demand? Like, are people going to travel in for this? Can these local places really sustain it? Potentially. But if you got annual passes marked at like $160, I mean, you're probably going to get a lot of families that just get an annual pass and go to this park, especially in the summertime, quite a bit.
Yeah,
I agree with Jared.
It's a fair point. Go ahead, MJ, please.
No, I agree with him 100%. This is definitely something for the locals, but a lot of people will travel to go and experience this. But I'm looking at it on another perspective as well. It's a strategy. They have a seasonal schedule on purpose because Jared made an extremely valid point. They're trying to, Universal is doing what Disney is not doing, and that's catering to extremely young audiences. So it's like a training, like go here to this park, experience everything, because I am looking at it like a Peppa Pig, Legoland. We've done all those things and the kids adore it. It's fun for the whole family actually, and then you can bring them into the bigger parks. So that's probably why they have that seasonally, because they want to make sure that you and your family are vacationing at Universal in Hollywood or Orlando, Florida. That's where they're going to get the big bucks, because this is a very extremely reasonably priced ticket to go into this park with your family. It's like I'm looking at it like a day out with the family for locals. Like, okay, we're going to spend the day at this park. It opens early, it closes early, and it's a day out. And I'm not seeing necessarily like a vacation package. I don't see myself and my family going there for a whole week. Would we probably fly in and do this for a weekend? Absolutely. But, I don't see them selling a vacation package for a whole week. You don't want to spend Legoland and Peppa Pig for a whole week. That's a one and done situation. And then you probably go back Jared, you have small children. You go back like next year or a couple months later or something like that,
Yeah.
This is great though. Kudos to Universal.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of look at it as a digital marketing format of like a funnel. They're like fun, like you get into your entry level product here, like your loss leader, and it gets you into the brand, and then they're like, oh, Universal Park's really cool. Yeah, let's go check out Epic Universe. I think that's the approach here. And so I think this has much, in my opinion, this model has much more of a Monsters Unleashed. I've always just had questions about that, of like a year-round haunted house. Like, what's the demand of that going to be in like January, February, March type of situation? Like, I'm sure Halloween time is going to be great, but I think this is much more sustainable. And you're talking about something that they do well, which is theme parks. So they know how to do this. I think it'll be higher quality than Peppa Pig Park. Like, we've been there. It'll be a little bit higher quality than that, but probably not a lot. I mean, most of these rides are very similar to what you've seen in that park, just kind of like, the little balloons that go around and little kiddie coasters and things like that. So not a lot of maintenance either on this. You don't have a lot of chances for stuff breaking down as much because it's not as much tech. So probably not as much for the money. I think it cost them, I want to say it was not 250 million, 500 million, something like that, to build all this.
Yeah. I remember the numbers because they had that town hall right there that revealed a lot of this information. I do believe it was like around 500 million.
Yeah.
So in terms of a theme park that we're used to Disney or anybody else, 500 million is nothing.
Oh yeah, I mean Epic was 8 billion to build, so yeah, that's like a drop in the bucket for them.
But
This
I mean,
it's like a great time for kids. Look at this. This is amazing. I love it so much. Look at all the meet and greets and the interaction, live entertainment. I love it. I think it's going to be great.
I think it's going to be really cool. Fabulous. I think it's going to be really, really fun. And obviously, you know, it may not appeal to me directly, but I think it's really, really cool for families to be able to take them to a place, you know, amongst the big two and not be completely, you know, just
oh man, now I have to cancel your
ticket
to this resort. You just said you're not into it. Now we got to cancel your flight and everything. You're gonna go.
Well. I didn't know it was pre-booked.
But just MJ's honorary kid for the day and just go around. And just be like,
Vash knows he's more than welcome to come with my family. He is family. We got a super chat here while I'm here.
Yes.
From Chef Eddie, 6164, $5. Vash, you have not read a single super chat tonight. Please do the honors. Good sir.
Okay. Well, Chef Eddie, 6164. I'm told I don't have to do that, but it's force of habit. With the $5, we need a Vash Sky face reveal show tonight so that everyone can stay all night. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we need. Yeah, no, if people don't already know, the amazing WW Pro actually revealed his face last night right there. That was a big face reveal show. And I will say, I mean, he really did get that set worked out. I know he's worked on it for a long time. And so, I mean, it is nice. But, you know, I don't know if it's like necessarily going to qualify for me because, well, I'm already on camera, as you can proudly see right there. The Vash Sky is what you see, is what you get. Wolful also coming in here. Vash, you have to keep streaming so we can stay here and keep us off the streets, keep us out of trouble. Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Those crazy kids, especially those Disneyland gangs and so forth. I know what you guys are doing on the other side of the trolley tracks right there. Jared, if you don't know, I was at that park place, and Marvin didn't know about the Disneyland gangs that used to be there, in which you had people with, you know, essentially they were social clubs, like kind of like MCs and so forth. They would have denim vests, and they would have their own sets of patches, and they would be in their own respective spots on Disneyland Park. It was crazy. It was wild. It was insane.
They snap and sing a lot about like how they do in the 50s. Like, we got a gang on the streets here.
Yeah, exactly, right? No, I mean, it was a thing. You had like the Main Street Elite, you had the hitchhikers, you had all kinds of stuff.
That's wild. I didn't know there were gangs of Disneyland. That's interesting.
Absolutely. Look it up. Existed probably the height of it was the mid 20-teens probably, but yeah, they were there, and I remember seeing them, and it was crazy. So all you potential Disneyland gangsters out there, just, you know, be on your best behavior right there. We'll keep you out of trouble. I want to be respectful, though, Jared's time, obviously, because I think I told him, I was like, hey, we're in an hour and a half, and obviously we went on a little bit longer because, well, our hard out unfortunately canceled. In the form of Marvin. Yeah, I know. So I don't want to drag him too long here, but I have one more story, Jared, if you want to go ahead and participate in this one. I'll keep it quick, even though there's just a little bit of explanation right here. So we have been keeping track of this story right here from Walt Disney World News Today. Walls Down at Animation Courtyard has obviously reopened at Disney's Hollywood Studios this back May 20th. Well, when this Animation Courtyard, this kind of reinvigorated area as part of Disney's Hollywood Studios over there at Walt Disney World, when it opened, you know, I mean, it looked pretty nice. I mean, just the aesthetics of it and everything else. I mean, it really did. They did a pretty good job. And I think we noted at the time, Jared, I remember talking to you about this and how it was like, this is a big upgrade for this area right here. It's kind of drab before, now bright, colorful, obviously evoking the Walt Disney Studios, not park, but the actual studio itself in Burbank, California. Very cool. Awesome stuff. With this, though, they brought out a series of characters. As you can see right here, there's these little characters kind of dotted throughout right there. And it's like this very nice, fun inclusion right there. You can see some of what that actually looks like right there, and they're just everywhere. And some of those are in creative spots. Others, you know, obviously within the realm of guests. Well, problems could arise from this, and sure enough, they did. As you can see right there, we had some damage done to these pets, and honestly, Jim Scholl said it right before it happened. He said these characters look like solid prints, that is 3D printed, similar to the props printed and recently showed off by Walt Disney Imagineering. The characters won't last, so take your photos now. Nice lawn. More about that tech on his YouTube channel. Well, he called it. He also said that the characters that were on offer at Disneyland Paris, which I believe he worked on, actually, you can see what those look like right here. He was saying that those characters are built to last because, well, they're really like statues. They're bronze statues. Whereas these guys right here, maybe not so much. And, well, he was, as we are noting here, entirely correct. We had articles printed about it and so forth. But we do have some good news on this front. Just today, it was revealed that they actually went in and repaired the little piggy right there that was damaged, which is very, very good.
That quick?
Some even suspect,
Wow.
some even suspect that it wasn't even done by guests at all. It could have actually been done by night crews or something like that. Not sure on that, but it's good that they're maintaining these. Again, though, I think Jim Cho makes a good point. These might not last, and I'll tell you what, and Jared, I want to go ahead and get you on in here. We've had some amazing character experiences in this area, just crazy amounts of walk-around characters ranging from Stitch, Chip and Dale, Pluto, Daisy. I mean, they're all out there. Rapunzel, I've seen a lot of, and it's really, really cool that in this area, at least, you have these roaming characters, which, honestly, in Walt Disney World, we simply do not see. What are your thoughts about this area, this initial drama, all of that?
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen. I haven't seen it in person yet. We're going to go in the next couple of weeks and check it out. But I mean, the roaming characters, like, you do not typically see that at Disney World. That is something that is very, very rare. I hope it maintains. That's the thing I always worry about is, you know, people get pushy. They're like, I spent $10,000 to go here. Get in front of Rapunzel and get your picture. And then it messes it up for everybody else. But like stuff like this, but if you're a little kid, I mean, you're going to remember stuff like this. Like, there was one I saw where Rapunzel was like fixing a girl's hair. Goofy was, like right there. Like, Goofy was playing Duck, Duck, Goose with the kids. Like, things like this, I think is what Disney does well. And I think they're leaning a little bit more into that with this, you know, Cool Kids Summer stuff and with this. So I like to see it. I hope it's able to be maintained and it's not something that's just a short-term thing. I know a lot of these characters are going to go inside eventually for meet and greets and things like that, but I hope they maintain this aspect of it. And I've been pretty encouraged by this, and I've been pretty encouraged by like Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger Spin, the Muppets redo of a lot of these things seem pretty good. And I think if you're looking at some, you know, if you got questions about the lands that they're currently building, this could give you some confidence here. You know, maybe this was a very quick turnaround type of thing here. Maybe they just didn't put a whole lot of overthinking into it. I know we've discussed that before. Maybe sometimes Imagineering kind of overthinks things too much and too many options. But definitely, like, what was there before was very, very drab, just gray. And now you got trees in here and some fake grass. Like, it looks a lot better. It fits the park for what it originally was. And I mean, from the outside looking in, I haven't seen anything where I'm just like, I don't like that. I think it looks pretty good.
I think it looks pretty good. Quick turnaround time, and obviously to evoke the studio itself is really, really cool. It's cool for fans who actually know where it's from. I don't know if everybody instinctively knows where a lot of these attributes actually come from, but c'est la vie, that's the way it goes. By the way, Coaster K24 with a lot of this video right here. Just want to go ahead and shout out to him because boy, oh boy, is he there and documenting all of this cool stuff for the community there. So that's very, very cool. There's one more thing I want to go ahead and bring up here, MJ, before getting you on into this discussion right here. We heard today, actually, with all of this news going on, that, hey, look at this. Details on Drawn to Wonderland coming to Magic of Disney Animation at Disney Silver Studios. It is an immersive playground inspired by Mary Blair's iconic Alice in Wonderland art, featuring the Mad Tea Party, Queen of Hearts Garden, and more. That's the first time I've seen that artwork, and they revealed what this is going to look like inside, specifically as it relates to the layout and where things are actually going to be located. And, well, there's a lot of colorful characters there, but there's quite a bit here. And it kind of seems to me, Jared, you can comment on this too, and MJ, obviously. It kind of seems to me like this is almost like a play pavilion of sorts, which we knew was coming to Epcot before that project was unfortunately canceled. So this is pretty good. It's a pretty decent lineup of different activities and so forth for a park that really needs all the help it can get in every single corner of it. Looks pretty good to me. I don't see much wrong with this.
Yeah, I get the same vibes as well, like kind of the play pavilion idea. And with Disney, ideas never really die. They take something like Westcott. There's things from Westcott that ended up going into, other parks as well. So my only potential beef with this entire concept is the Olaf draws part.
Absolutely.
In the fact that they're not going to have a live animator. That is the only thing I have heard where I'm like, I don't like that. But looking at that concept art and everything going in there, I mean, for kids, like, my daughter will love that. She loves drawing and things like that. And like, I think it's a place for one thing, the way that looks like it's set up, it's going to be a draw and people can spend a lot of time in there. And I think in Hollywood studios with a lot of these wait times that you do have for some of these things, it's going to help that park out to draw more attention on that side away from some of the other big hitters that are in that park. So like I said, this thing from everything I've seen about it, I don't really see anything that there's nothing in here that I hate. Like I said, the only really thing is that Olaf draws thing. Everything else looks pretty cool. And maybe you see Olaf come in that does meet and greets as well. So it's probably an area that they can change as new things. Maybe you get some different meet and greets and things in there. So they could keep it fresh. They could update it regularly, but for just being what this is and not a major ride or anything like that, it's pretty well done.
Yeah,
it's I would say it's pretty decent, and I agree with you. The not recording, I'm sorry, going with recorded animators rather than live animators there with you in order to show you how to draw. Just change the feel, changes the dynamic of the whole thing. Don't like that. No. MJ, please go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking about everything Jared was saying. They do have a meet and greet for Olaf in Hollywood Studios, and it's in the air condition.
They do. That's true.
Yeah, it is. I believe it's right outside Galaxy's Edge. I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I agree with you 100%. They definitely don't want you taking the kids to Texas. That's probably why they're doing all of this.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that angle, but it might be a good point.
If you don't mind putting the map back.
Yeah, sure. We can go ahead and bring that back on. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, they definitely don't want anyone going to Texas. There's a lot to do here. It's great for all ages. Parents can enjoy with the kids, and they have to go back to that family. What's the right word for that? The
family friendly, family attracting type of business model right there, which it looks like they are. I mean, look, this was a dead space. Exactly. Nothing was in here, right? And people can speculate. They can have their revisions of perhaps maybe they could replace it with another attraction and so forth, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But if we're not going to do that, and clearly they haven't, because now they're doing Monsters, Inc. over there in the old Muppets area, done Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster and so forth. If you're not going to use this area for a new attraction, it's like, okay, can we at least reinvigorate this space and get it working again? There's so many dead spaces throughout Walt Disney World, especially like the Wonders of Life Pavilion and so forth, and Epcot and all of that. It's like, we need this. And so they brought it. They brought it here. Very, very cool. People might be thinking also, too, like, hey, they could have put Bluey in there. Yes, they could have, but Animal Kingdom needed that attraction a lot more than Disney's Hollywood Studios did, even though Hollywood Studios had, generally demand and capacity issues of its own. So I think this is really cool.
Rapunzel playing Duck, Duck, Goose every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Grab this super chat really quick, Vash. It's been hanging out for a while, and everyone's hanging on. We have a total of 118 of you out there in the live audience. Thank you so much for being here and participating in all the comments and all the super chats. O2RR trying to keep our panel on with the super chat. We're here. We're here. I'm getting sleepy, but we're here.
I do appreciate that. look, thank you so much. Very much appreciate the chats. And I look, if it was like just me and I had, all the energy in the world, I might actually stay on. I might actually stay on for a while because I have that many stories. I really do. I have probably 2 more hours worth.
Oh, he has
Well,
them,
there's a
guys.
ton out there right
He's
now.
got them.
There's a ton, and MJ knows. But we got to call it at some point, and I think this is about where it is. Jared and MJ
wanting more. You know what I mean? You don't want to overstay your welcome. And they're like, I wish this stream would end. You'd rather be like, hey, I wish I could get more. That's
it is to just finish things off with Hollywood Studios. It's so nice to see all the changes and the live characters everywhere. It's like magic is happening little by little. And I know there's bad news with a lot of the stuff we dearly, dearly love, but there are positive things happening. And I'm a little bit optimistic with, what's going on with Josh D'Amaro, and just got to try to stay with our chins up. And I want everyone out there to remember that, to always keep your chin up and have high hopes. Do not ever feel like, it's the end of the world. It's not. It's just, unfortunately, changes are happening everywhere, not just in the theme parks. And we have to find a way to adapt to them and stay positive and smile.
My adage is always never black pill. Never black pill and stuff. So
exactly.
Not good for the soul.
It's not good for the soul.
It's not good. There is positivity out there. Look, we cover the negative as well, but we try to cover at least a little bit of positive here on Vash Sky ParkCast as well. Right there, I want to go ahead and thank Jared and MJ for sticking with me for a little bit longer. I know a little bit. I promised you a different story, and this didn't happen. So, thank you so much for being a good sport. Very much appreciate you. And Jared, please, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can actually find you out there on this great, big, beautiful web. That being Capture the Magic. Please go ahead, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a good time on here, and no problem on the time. Listen, we stayed a little late last night. It's sometimes stories pop up. It's no big deal. Live streaming is just how would I call it? Live streaming is just it's a dance. Sometimes you adjust on the fly and it all works out. But no, it's good being here. You can find me at Cap the Magic over here on YouTube. If you do want some Disney World, Universal Studios Orlando tips, information, reviews that are much more like long form, you go check out CTM Podcast with my wife and I. And social medias are all at Cap the Magic. So always a good time. Thank you for having me. And it's always fun talking about this stuff with you.
Very, very cool. We have the live chat there with Gon Shogi. He's got your link for Capture the Magic. Also, too, we have his links also in the description as well. Always will be there. Never leaves the list. But that brings us to the wonderful MJ, who has a couple of social media points of her own. Please, MJ, go ahead. Where can the people find you out there on this amazing web of ours?
Oh, yeah. You guys can find me on X and Instagram. I'm actually running a really fun poll about the Carousel of Progress on my Instagram. So if you want to join in on the fun, I will post the results. I'm waiting for everyone to vote.
Well, what's our maybe some initial findings, if you can be so abroad, that keeps us in suspense, of course, but also too maybe indicates how people feel generally about this. Please go ahead.
I got 14% at yes and 86 no.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
Look, we're gonna need a larger. We're gonna need the largest sample size we possibly can. Get on over there and vote if you can, please.
It's just for fun.
But I want to see some data on this. I really do. I really want to see a myriad of polls. I want to see a myriad of surveys. What do people think about this? Because the reaction I got online, pretty mixed. Some people saying, "Oh, this is great. This is awesome stuff. This is fantastic." Other people saying, "Not so much." Some people are calling this like the worst day of ever.
Oh, I saw people pulling out like old memorabilia and they're like vlogging it. Yeah. They're like, this is now going to be worth like $1 trillion. All of this old stuff from Carousel of Progress when it first, became an attraction, and all the merch that it is memorabilia, seal it and conceal it and freeze it and put it on your wall.
Yeah. No, I totally get that right there. Look, listen, Disney, you have a choice. You have an opportunity right here to kill 2 birds, potentially with 1 stone. I don't even know if I can say that word. I did now. Here's what we can do. Just take the original Carousel of Progress as it currently exists at Walt Disney World, bring it on over back to Disneyland where it all started right there. That way it can live on in Walt's original park, Walt's original Carousel of Progress. Boom, there you go. Then do your new version. If all these things have to go anyway, they might as well go to a place where people can still enjoy them. Anyway, that's just how I feel about it. Let's see what Disney...
They're listening. You know those CEOs are listening. They're listening.
Look, Disneyland's an empty space right now, right? We can get into the show in there. We can get some additional capacity and so forth. And maybe that could be the building block for which we can actually build out a new Tomorrowland, which Disneyland desperately needs.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and see what happens there. If you want to go ahead and get more Vash Sky, you can find me on X right there at Vash Sky. Also, too, Vash Sky ParkCast, which you're watching right now, of course. But if you want to remember, please go ahead and consider it because we have an amazing show that occurs every single Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern right there. That show, by the way, is going to be covering Disney's unique history with UFOs. And, well, they might have been thinking of actually doing a special on UFOs, but were denied. Maybe the government was actually involved. Very interesting stuff there. It's going to be a good one, folks. You definitely want to go ahead and tune in to that one. There's no question about that. All right. I think it just about concludes this for our program right here. Next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, after that Park Place right there. Expect a lot of stories because, man, I got them chambered right here. If nothing else breaks, I got stuff to go on.
The whole collection.
That said, though, who knows? I mean, we just had news every single day. It's all coming out. So definitely subscribe to Vash Sky ParkCast if you haven't already to get in on all of the fun and obviously be notified when we go live. Thank you so much. We will see you all next time right here. Remember, folks, the sky is the limit.